Hello, everyone. It is Friday, the 16th of February, 2024. I did a video this morning, but I realized that, I looked for my Press for Truth video um, that I posted, a couple of years ago. And I realized that because my accounts have been deleted, that's one of the archived ones that I have that I still need to find out of my friggin' list of, hundreds of videos and figure out which one it is. But I'm going to share it again. I'm going to do it on a live stream. And it's going to annoy people, and they're going to understand why I've been speaking out on this publicly, and a lot of other people within Canada, why I'm being censored, and why I'm frustrated with the fact that people like Bill Blair, aka William Blair, from Toronto Police Services, I've called him out repeatedly for years now because I was working in and around the security industries, even training people at the highest friggin' levels, and I was in that network, that community that they were operating in and around. And Bill Blair has been known for years to be someone that is not at all read into the reality of the world. Before I even get into that video, Press for Truth, it's going to frustrate a lot of people again, because even me, rewatching it, I'm going to watch it with you guys, but it just really pisses me off, because this is just where we're at in Canada right now. And this is a few years ago, so it's actually going to disgust a lot of people. Before that, I did want to get into more current events as of today. So the real Andy Lee, I have called her out on lying about a few things before, being dramatic and alleging that she was, picked up by cops, and her lawyers abandoned her, all this stuff, even just recently in the last few months. But she still shares good work, so you can't hold that stuff against her. It's not a crime. And so move on. Sometimes we do crazy things, and no one's perfect. And she does share good content. So it's again, that's why I continue to share her work. And I also call out conservatives. So people think I just call out people that are on different political spectrums. But again, I'm not even on a political spectrum. I've said that they all occupy and promote the same sponsored advertisements that people not even Canadian are pushing at them. Even Walmart, it's not owned by anyone, it's not owned by Canada or Canadians. So Melissa Lantsman, she's conservative member of parliament, publicly funded job, and was also someone that was has had journalists arrested, and was not on the right side of humanity in multiple different events, and is also misleading Canadians on what's going on in Israel and Palestine, and it's because there is a bias there. So anyway. Yeah. Justin Trudeau, massive infrastructure investments with his foreign friends. And what I mean by in Canada, people don't pay attention, don't care. Even in Canada's equivalent of Texas, Jason Kenney, he was the premier during the lockdowns, restricted measures, all of this stuff, wasn't cluing into any of anything that people were sharing with him and his department, even in Alberta, where you had more people that were speaking out on this than anywhere else. And this moron was doing nothing about it. And so former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, and man responsible for the arrest of multiple Christian pastors, that's a true story, by the way, as well as the forced closure of every church in Alberta during COVID, has been invited to speak at the People's Church in Edmonton on the topic of religious persecution. No, I'm not making that up, right? And so, I wonder what he's going to say. Jimmy Dore reposted this too. Again, I think that Tucker Carlson may be an informant for the CIA. If it's for the good of humanity, so what? If he's supporting and enabling the human and drug trafficking shit, then we should know. You know what I mean? That would be interesting stuff and a reason not to support him. So Jimmy Dore, imagine not being upset that the cities in your country are being destroyed systematically, but being upset that someone told you about it. You have to be a pretty big moron simp for the establishment to think like that. America is a country full of adult children of alcoholics. They don't get mad at the person screwing them. They get angry at the person who points out that someone is screwing them. It's so true in Canada as well, unfortunately. and not even just alcoholics, by the way. There's a lot of people and children on prescription medications, and that are heavy, and they're making fun of people that smoke pot. That's an actual plant that comes from the fucking ground. You don't need a prescription for it, and not a heavy narcotic, but with a lot of even children are taking right now for things like ADHD, which could possibly be therapeutic injuries. Anyway, people calling out the destruction of our societies and stuff like that. Like we're getting called like extremists. We're getting called racist, people that are discriminating. All of this stuff. It's ridiculous. There was more news I wanted to talk about. Oh, it's not my profile anymore. Get back on my profile because I want to share with you. Also, I don't know how much I can say here, but no shit. So Sogi 123 was brought to Canada by a man named Jennifer Pritzker, an American citizen and activist billionaire, part of like the friggin' companies, the military pharmaceutical industrial complex, pretending to be a woman. I wonder if the hyper-offended ladies on the school board know that. So this is in response to these women who are on the school, like so on the education system on the school board. These are the heads in Chilliwack, BC. And so regarding, and that was just a screenshot just to show you again, like these, like, again, how can you, as a professional and someone working in government, there needs to be dress codes and regulations, just like there were when I was in the fucking military. Like, and just like when I do work, like in various like security capacities, like even wearing uniforms or wearing like business, professional attire. And we like not authorized to have different color hair, like not authorized, even to have like dark brown hair, anything that would like alter or change my appearance, unless it was something that was approved or because of like work I was doing with government and anyway, and things like that. But like this would never be acceptable. So like, why is this acceptable? Why are we allowing this to happen? And why I'm saying this is a doctor addresses a public school board meeting in Chilliwack, BC, with concerns regarding the board's code of conduct towards parents opposed to the SOGI 123. Sexual orientation, gender identity. The board chair then mutes his microphone and
this is going on with the change.
He's being very respectful and polite.
Refer to it. Public confidence in and respect for the board is enhanced by adopting and adhering to a trustee code of conduct, particularly integrity and dignity of office. Trustees will carry out.
Sorry, trustee. Sorry, Mr. Ferguson.
Dr. Ferguson, please. Thank you.
Doctor. See, notice how like if you don't call them by their whatever friggin' pronoun they want, like Caesar, unicorn, friggin' whatever, then they get so fucking offended and they want jail. This is an actual doctor with an actual certification to be a doctor, and they completely dismiss it. The hypocrisy already, like just right from the get-go.
Item number 2.
Not a good start.
Information item 2.3.
Okay.
Yes, it was in your own report.
Muting his mic and stuff.
That you had a meeting, and it was in another trustee. I just want to refer back to this because there's several incidents that I've experienced that I believe violate the code of conduct, and it's a serious matter. And I will not name the 2 trustees, but they're in this room, obviously. Trustees will carry out their duties faithfully, diligently, and in a manner that will inspire public confidence in the ability and integrity of the board. 2, trustees will conduct themselves in an appropriate, professional, and respectful manner when carrying out their duties. And under civil behavior and decorum, trustees will act with decorum and be respectful of other trustees, staff, students, partner groups, and the public at all times. Trustees will not make remarks that disparage other members of the board, employees of the district, or recognized partner groups. I've had an experience in this very room. The superintendent can verify where one trustee in this room swore at me in a foul manner that I acceptable. And I'm going to keep talking. And the word begins with that.
Like how disgusting. And so just more funny jokes I'm showing. So the reason why I wanted to say that, I don't know if you'll see it here, but CSIS, which is Canada's CIA equivalent, is claiming that anyone that's like a parent is essentially being considered like a right-wing extremist, a neo-Nazi, etc. Anyone that is concerned about the stuff that we share about this stuff. I already shared this, but I'm going to share it again. And so like a lot of like people that are extremists took that from CSIS and they're running with it. CTV, mainstream media, like they're all running with the CSIS report, just like during the pandemic and just like during the Freedom Convoy. And that like the facts and the truth are going to come out, you know, eventually, that like it's bogus, or the sources or the intel that they got their report from is someone that's like a journalist, that's a left-wing journalist like Justin Ling from CBC, which made them like consider to declare the Emergency Act. It's disgusting. And Justin Ling again was lying and painting Diagolon and others as right-wing extremists, and that was proven to be incorrect. And and CSIS is doing it again. They're doing it again, only now they're saying like, oh no, it's parents. It's not the unvaccinated. No. The parents are Nazis now. Parents are fucking right-wing extremists and associated with Diagolon and QAnon and all this. Like, you know, like, and where are the other groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter that are also like suspected like terrorist organizations or groups like that have also been known to commit like a lot of damage and crimes and you fucking name it, right? And oh my God, the hypocrisy. And then even like myself personally, so people within the trans community, they're saying that these people are a threat. They're saying that CSIS sources indicate that these people, like parents, QAnon, Diagolon, like they're correlating people that shouldn't be like lumped together, right? Like apples, oranges, horses. Diagolon, like a meme parody, fucking like joking fucking podcast with a guy that actually tells the fucking truth about the reality of the world when no one else will. And they're considering him as painting him as the equivalent of people that have been like burning buildings, beating up cops. Like no, not the same at all. And then of course people like me also get lumped in that picture because like I also say that within this community, the LGBT community has been hijacked by people that are mentally disordered. Okay, they're hiding under the umbrella of that group, right? Because like they're generally speaking more liberal or more open to like accepting people of all friggin' various like, you know, walks of life, including criminals, clearly. And we just need to like address the fact that Jesus Christ, the point to him within this like allegorical story was that he wanted you to like, you know, like learn from sin and not commit sins. And like there was even like the whole 10 fucking commandments that he was talking about, right? And so like the lessons are lost when you say that he was tolerant and accepting of literally everyone. No, he's not tolerant of and accepting of people in the allegory that are not doing work to do what he did or try to live in like the same type of like life or way that he lived. Again, like it's a book based on truth but not facts, right? And people that take it literally are the ones that are what people call lower level IQ and education, that are not understanding that they don't take it literally. Just like Santa Claus is not real and the Tooth Fairy is not real, you don't take these literally. And to the people that understand the higher level stuff, the astrotheosophy, they think we're fucking idiots when we're sacrificing our own to Satan and Lucifer, which are luminaries, and doing evil acts or getting other people to do evil fucking acts for money and saying, oh, it's demons. And anyways, don't get me fucking started. Like, yeah, I've had my home, my own personal address as a woman by a man named Autumn Rain, who identified as a woman named Autumn Rain. And it's on my social media. So like I literally screenshotted the story, tagged me in my home, called me a bigot. Last year, a week before, that trans person shot up a school in the US within like that week, and where men that were over 6 foot tall, over 250 pounds, were threatening women and children, saying they will go into our bathrooms and there's nothing we can do about it. And then even talking about calling people to arms and talking about arming themselves and wearing shirts with guns. And no one I know is doing that, right? And so like I haven't done that. Jeremy hasn't done that. Tamara Leach hasn't done any of that fucking stuff. But there are people that we can name and that we share that have actually hit us, targeted us for people to kill us, and so much more. And it's not getting talked about. And we're little and CSIS for them to fucking say that today or yesterday, whenever the fuck it was, that like these groups are like parents are a threat and a danger to trans is literally the fucking headline. How dumb is that? And what are your sources? Where are your sources? I would like to know, because if it's Justin Ling again, then the people that are getting that information respectfully need to be fucking jailed. Okay? Literally need to be away from fucking people that are committing crimes against humanity on a regular fucking basis. And how many years does this need to happen? Where there's personal accounts from people all over the fucking country of these people hurting us. And actually, no, even before I get on it, I don't even know if I still have but even Dan Dick's Press for Truth has countless examples of where people during protests, peaceful protests, people on the trans side. And again, it's not a hate on for trans, because I know people personally who are trans, and I fully supported them through their transitions, gave them meal and diet plans, gave them work, employed them, and they're still working in that job when they would have been fucking homeless. Okay. And not taken seriously at all. So for anyone to say that I'm homophobic either is ridiculous, because I have friends that are also homosexual. I have dated a woman in my past. Anyway, and no judgment there at all. And so it just frustrates me when I say stop targeting the fucking children. I'm talking about mentally disordered people that are exploiting children and doing the trans fucking happy hour in diapers in front of little fucking kids. Okay. And then these are the men that say oh, strippers are trashy. Oh, women strippers, that wouldn't be classy if a female stripper was on a fucking pole in front of pre-K kids. Right. And there's even trans principles and stuff like that. We need to address the fact that our government institutions that are supposed to be helping us are part of the mainstream media, what's going on right now, state-funded media. Because if they're getting it from the mainstream media and they're not getting it from actual informants like myself with top secret government clearance, over 23 years of service to Canada, working with all levels of government at the fucking highest and internationally and the Five Eyes community, for them not to take my work or content seriously, or Jeremy McKenzie or Chris Sky or countless others that are sharing actual, not irrefutable data and evidence, and Helen Gruss and Tamara Leach and countless others, for them not even to look that information and get their information from a leftist, extremist journalist in his 30s with zero experience working in any government department or institution, let alone multiple, where you need to be like cross department agencies in order to fully understand the fucking reality of the world as well. But I'm rambling on. And yet again today, I'm just saying that our CSIS, the people that are supposed to serve and protect, are actually targeting veterans. They're actually targeting their own government, people within the government that are speaking out on this. They're going against parents now, and the people that they're protecting are these purple and green haired freaks that are just, again, they're hiding behind a movement to exploit it and be seen as a diversity hire and exploit these institutions for their own weak fucking sick agendas. And yeah, I fucking said what I said. I wish more people would actually say that, the actual fucking truth, and get the actual truth. And when has CSIS, because I still haven't got a fucking phone call from them yet either, or a follow-up, why are they not calling people like myself who email them and countless others within cabinet? We're not hiding. I'm not scared to fucking get my name out there. I give my address and my phone number on a fucking regular basis for them to communicate with me. And they don't. And even with Jeremy McKenzie, not once did these fucking idiots actually call him to talk about anything, or Chris Guy or anyone else, to actually have informed conversations. Because actually, you know what, though? A few cops did with Chris Guy and a few others. They actually did to communicate with that, and Tamara Leach as well. So it's not at that level that it's things are getting fucked up. It's people that are using what they're considering to be doctrine or official data to abuse people. So this is Into the Fire. It's going to annoy a lot of people, but this is why myself and people like myself have been calling out things like January 6th and understood what it was all about before it fucking happened. And the same thing with the Freedom Convoy and You just got to learn, lest we forget.
In commando practice, cadet officers learn how a group of men working as one can be an effective wedge between destructive mobs and the peaceful citizen and his property. He began to see the importance of prevention whenever possible. Prevention of accidents and prevention of crime. He had proved himself to be alert, willing to take orders and carry them out, and firm but courteous in his contacts with the public.
I'm asking for your name. I like your name. I'm doing my job. I'll put your name.
Okay, but we haven't done anything wrong.
Oh, yeah.
So
We're on private property. So by the letter of the law, I'm asking you for your name.
Okay.
Just give me your name so I can just, leave you guys alone.
Yeah. Good. John Smith.
Okay. You guys want to play it that way? You can go out front. I'll be advising the rest of the security about you guys. If you guys make any further moves, everything will be noted and documented.
Okay.
In 2006, when I went to cover the Bilderberg meeting in Ottawa, I brought along a camera with me, and from then on, I knew I wanted to document more events like this that the mainstream media wasn't covering. So it was around that time that I started Press for Truth. I thought it would be a good idea to have an alternative media outlet based here in Toronto so that we can cover these various issues.
Do you guys have ID?
I do have ID.
Okay. I need to see it. Is it possible to take a look at your driver's license?
No, I'm afraid that is not possible.
$14 years
Today
ago.
is a training exercise.
Toronto, 14 years ago.
With our tactical ETF emergency task force unit from Toronto Police. We're training with private security. We've been doing it with this organization, which is our TAPS, Toronto Association of Police and Private Security Organization.
So, Chief William Blair, I just wanted to make sure that I caught that. 14 years ago, he was the chief of police in Toronto. And let me tell, and so like fully fucking responsible and aware. And he's our fucking Minister of National Defense right now in Canada. It's so infuriating to me and
Collaboration
disgusting.
between Toronto Police and private security in the greater Toronto
Fire
area,
this man!
for information
Jail!
sharing, intelligence sharing, training opportunities.
The G20 coming to this area actually helps us see how our training has been undertaken over the last several years. So this is actually, this was not derived as a result of the G20, but the G20 now will test our ability to work in concert with private and public sector.
Is it true there's going to be upwards of 10,000 police at the G20?
There's, well, first of all, I'm not here to discuss the G20.
So now we are currently down in Toronto's financial district. This is the heart of the financial district here in the city. So we thought it was important to come here to show you what you can expect in 2 months from now in this area. As many of you know, there is a group out there called the Black Bloc who show up to these protests dressed in black. They often have rocks and they'll pick up things and try to smash banks. There was a firebombing at an RBC bank in Ottawa just last week by a group who was calling themselves the FFFC Ottawa. You create a problem, say the bombing, you get a reaction, say, oh my God, what are we going to do about this? And then you offer your solution to the problem, which...
Spoiler alert. Guess who that was? There were these groups breaking those friggin' windows.
More cameras, more security.
And unfortunately, I know people that work with the banking institutes, like really famous ones in these areas and in Ottawa and stuff like that. I have tried to reach out to them for the last few years respectfully. People I've worked with, and I won't say where, but in the past, and refusing to acknowledge anything I share, fully on board with the fucking, like with COVID mandates and lockdowns and drinking the Kool-Aid about Afghanistan and about Russia, Ukraine, about Israel, Palestine, like all of that fucking stuff, literally on board with this stuff. And these are people I fucking know personally and I've worked with, like,
more lockdown.
And I don't care. I mean, I do care, but like all I'm asking at this point is for them to just like reestablish contact and communications. Like don't leave it like this. Like you obviously need my help.
And we have new CCTV cameras going up here in Toronto as a direct result of the G20.
I'm George Tucker. I'm from the Toronto Police Service and have been a police officer downtown here in 52 Division mostly for approximately 30 years. The Integrated Security Unit is the group that's comprised and required to provide the security to those internationally protected people. The Integrated Security Unit is led by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The Integrated Security Unit has security zones and they will be protected by fences.
Now, over the last 2 weeks, Toronto city workers have been working very hard putting up these fences all around what is called the red zone. Over 6 kilometers of fencing is going to be put in this area, which actually ended up costing over $5 million.
What are these zones? There's two. One that we'll call a red zone, which is the most secure zone, and then there's the outer zone, which is less secure, but it's the largest. You know, the world did change, unfortunately, on 9/11. And if it wasn't for some of the elements in our society, the security units would not have to be here in the presence that they are going to be here.
When we see people videotaping around here, we want to make sure what their intentions are.
Yep. Our intention is to provide some alternative information to people who are looking to learn about the G20, as opposed to the mainstream media slant on things. Are you familiar with what an agent provocateur is? Well, in Montebello, Quebec in 2007, there was 3 police officers who were dressed as aggressive protesters with rocks in their hands, wearing masks, in an attempt to incite violence.
These 3 guys are everybody!
George, as a representative of the Toronto Police, can you assure us that the Toronto Police Force will not engage in any police agent, provocateur agent activities at the G20 summit?
Security matters, I'm not at liberty to
No, he's so fucking smug about it too.
discuss those in a room. Obviously, with these people coming to town, this is a huge international event. It puts Toronto on the global stage. We obviously have to take the steps that we deem necessary to provide that protection for them to visit Canada.
You know, like they say, right? You could like slap lipstick on a pig. And I'm talking about this applies to everyone. It applies to everyone that wears their fucking costume, right? Take a fucking shower, wear a business suit, you know, get your hair, face fucking done up in like whatever costume that you need to wear, whether it's royalty or a fucking like Pope, priests, or all of the above, right? Like you can all the costumes in the world will not make people who are shitty human beings good human beings. It's just a way to dupe people, deceive people, instill trust. People generally speaking, with attraction there, people are more apt to want to listen and hear what they have to say. Or the more vulnerable, right? You feel sorry for, so they're wearing glasses. That gives the perception of like a vulnerability, and just even on a subconscious level, that makes people feel sorry for people. And then you're like, it's just going after people's hearts and minds, right? Even that in itself elicits emotional responses. And they did the same thing with Stephen Hawkins or Hawkins, however you want to fucking call his name. This is an actor. And people are like, oh, like no, they're not going to question what he's saying or what he's pushing because he has a fucking wheelchair. And no, that also, by the way, spoiler alert, doesn't mean that I'm fucking going against fucking people with disabilities, because I have friends. First of all, I have complex PTSD, so that's considered a disability. But I also have friends that I've served with, deployed with, in a theater of war, that are quadruple amputees, double amputees, multiple. Lots of respect for them. Hawkins, no, because he was someone that lied. Their scripts, and again, was he even like mentally capable of even making any decisions or have informed consent with like all the fucking scripts and roles and media things that he was forced to do.
Filming area. Do you know we spent $1 billion securing this?
You can't have this. How are you, man?
Very well.
Yeah,
good to meet you.
Good to meet you, man.
My name is Charlie Veach. I'm a member of the Love Police, Detective Charlie Veach.
Terrorism, 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 Al-Qaeda, Mohammed, terrorism. I'd like to thank the City of London Police for doing a wonderful job in their fluorescent jackets and protecting us all from the terrorists.
You have CCTV cameras filming us. We have to ask the question, people, who's watching the watchers? So Dan, you live here in Toronto?
I do. Been here for a little over 10 years now, 12 years or so.
It's funny, we're still one day away from the actual event and it's already massively locked down.
Yeah, massive is an understatement. This is a completely unprecedented amount of police. I've never seen anything like it.
All right, well, thanks. I'll see you in jail.
We would like to know where the best riots are.
Because what we really want to capture is like really frontline footage of the riots.
We have got very rubbish footage so far. Most of it is unusable. If you know where there's any good riots, please let us know. Thank you.
Are you telling me there are going to be riots?
I'm sure there are going to be some intense riots. So we're just wondering if you guys knew where they might be.
Well, if you got some ID with you, I can put you in touch with media.
Thing is, though, why do I need to show you ID?
So I can give your name to media so you can be contacted?
Oh, no, in that case,
Really?
I'm anonymous.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
You're not that
Please give
dumb.
one of you guys a
You think
hug.
we're so fucking dumb, man.
No.
No? And can I give you a hug?
No.
Okay, well, that's what we like to do. But
So you guys going to be on your way then down that way?
yeah. Is that right?
That'd be a good idea.
All the best. Have a good day.
Take care.
See you tomorrow at the riots.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm kind of amazed, Dan, the intense police presence and the
Okay, but that was also
incredible
dumb on that guy's part.
Berlin Wall-style gating going on here. You can really almost taste the...
Like talking about riots like that. Okay, it's not dumb, but it's just like why do that? Like I don't see any sense in like talking about riots and stuff like that in front of police because like they would want to investigate that.
Money they've wasted on the policing
that I
and
get.
surveillance of the city, and as we saw walking past, they've got mobile CCTV units. You've been stopped today twice, asked for ID, asked who you are. I've been stopped once, so I'm just really looking forward to getting the megaphone now and speaking a bit of my supposed truth to the poor security personnel here.
Absolutely. So let's continue our trip down to blast the people with some truth. The Chinese people love it.
We're going to press for
Not
truth.
crack cocaine.
Ladies and gentlemen, you must respect the G20, the group of 20 industrialized and soon-to-be industrialized nations have your best interests at heart. Trust me, globalization is good for business. Shop faster. Get your credit cards ready. We have to pay back $1 billion that we spent on policing you for the G20 summit. Please be very careful. The person standing next to you could either be a terrorist or might have swine flu. Stay terrified. I'd just like to thank security for coming out in such wonderful uniforms. They are agents from the Matrix.
If you don't mind stepping on public property, I can leave you alone and you guys...
Yeah, where's public property?
5 feet that way.
Yeah, of course. Is it just behind that grey line?
Yeah, you got it. Have a good one.
We have been moved on a total of 3 meters. We were standing on corporate private property. Now my message is ruined. You cannot hear my megaphone because I have been moved 3 meters to the left. It's all over now. The man has shut me down. It's all over.
Excuse me, sir, with a camera, you're actually on private property there.
Anyone telling you to firebomb McDonald's is dangerous and should be disobeyed. I repeat, do not firebomb McDonald's. Do not rock the boat. Do not ask difficult questions. If you require answers, the CBC and your other propaganda channels have all the answers for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a message brought to you by the Canadian Institute for Shopping and Buying Rubbish You Do Not Need. Giorgio Armani, Gucci, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana. These are your new priests in the Church of Consumerism. Anyone exiting the Eaton Centre without 5 shopping bags is a rubbish shopper. What you need is to turn around and make your way back into the Eaton Centre. Ladies and gentlemen, by order of Eaton Mall Management, we ask you to shop faster. You are not spending your money at a quick enough pace. Spend more money. Buy more material objects. Happiness lies in buying stupid things you do not need. Thank you.
Yeah. You're currently filming, correct?
Yep.
You can't do that right here. So
they told us this was public. This is private and this is public. So
we're within 5 meters of this wall. So please turn off your video camera.
We can't film within 5 meters of the wall?
That's correct.
Okay.
Public Works Act states that. So please,
Because
we're show your identification.
Please,
to these officers.
5 meters from this wall. All right, we'll stop filming. But it's because obviously,
Show your identification, please.
can I just ask a question, please? So,
From this particular wall.
can I please look at
You're
the actual
on
paper
that side?
wall that says
You
you're
can
not?
film free.
Can I please see your identification, sir? We're both human beings. Are we not equal before the law until someone
I've
breaks
asked
the
you
law?
to turn the camera off. I don't anticipate any trouble whatsoever. And that's it. I hope that sounds fair and is fair with everybody, right? So can
Is he being detained right now? Or?
He's just talking. Same thing that I've asked you to stop filming, brother. Come on. I appreciate what you guys
I'm
are
just
doing. And I
concerned
know it's
about
very
his safety.
interesting.
Yeah.
You have nothing to worry about with his safety.
Okay.
Okay. So no one's in trouble. No. Right? No one's in trouble.
Well, we're not doing anything illegal, correct?
Exactly. Right?
Keep up the good work, all right? This guy's doing a really good job.
Thanks. So your friend didn't want to tell the police who he was, so he's been arrested for the time being. Okay. So they're going to determine who he is, and then once they determine who he is, he'll be released.
That's the beautiful thing about this.
I agree.
We don't have to present our papers upon request.
Well, but circumstances have changed just a little. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Like if this was
certain rights be suspended just because the G20 is coming to town, right?
because that's what the government states.
Right.
It's not us. We don't make the rules. We just play by it.
So as you probably just saw, we were surrounded by
Remember the Nazis said?
15 police officers or so who said we could not be on the property and that we had to be on the public sidewalk. We went over to the public sidewalk, continued doing our bullhorning with Charlie Beach, and that's when they said it's time to put a stop to this, and you guys are going to have to tell us who you are and show us your identification under something that is called the Public Protection Act.
The Public Works Protection Act, as it's called, isn't new, but extending it broadly to downtown city blocks is unprecedented.
It's entirely reasonable, and that we would be able to restrict the area around the summit. We have a legislative responsibility to protect that event.
Police are using it. Several people have been arrested. Andrew Beach, an activist, tested the police response and videotaped it.
We're within 5 meters of this wall, so please turn off your video camera.
We can't film within 5 meters of the wall?
That's correct. So your friend didn't want to tell the police who he was, so he's been arrested for the time being.
As of June 21st, sir, this has been declared a public works area.
Okay.
And then that falls under the Public Works Act.
What's the act exactly?
The Public Works Act.
Right. So what does it state?
You're more than welcome to look it up on the internet, sir.
Can I get you to explain the, I think it's the property
Vi
work
Blair,
act?
Bill Blair, our Minister of National Defense.
To the Public Works, you're talking about the Public Works Act.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to refer you to the media relation officer. I won't be able to.
Oh, no one can speak on that? Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
It's actually under the Public Works Protection Act, okay? Anyone within this perimeter.
So by law, you can ID anybody you want?
Yes, that's right. Can I have your ID, please?
I refuse to give you my ID.
Okay. You're gonna have to identify yourself to me, sir. Listen, okay, this is the way it happens, okay? If you don't identify yourself to me, then under that act, I'm gonna have to arrest you.
Arrest me for not showing ID.
That's right. So I need to see your ID right now.
Check your bag. There's nothing.
It's a threat.
Anyone in the park.
Situation.
You're free to enjoy yourself in the park. You don't open your bag. You don't get in.
Well, I'm not letting you illegally search me.
Okay, then you're not coming in. Then you're not coming in.
Why? On whose authority? On whose authority?
We're not going to repeat yourself.
Go to a park.
This is a violation of charter rights, of rights as a citizen of Canada. You are violating my rights by illegally searching me. And I have a right to enter a public space without being violated.
You have a right to enter the public space under the terms that we've given you. That's the end.
Oh, your legal terms that you've given me.
Well, sir, I guess that's up for debate later, but today, right now, as it stands, those are the rules. And if we are incorrect, and it's found out to be incorrect, then we will apologize profusely, and it goes from there.
We're going to break the law and then deal with the consequences later. That's essentially what you just said to me. I'm going to enter this park, and you will have to detain me to enter my bag.
That's correct.
Okay. Well,
And you're done.
Oh my god.
No, you're gonna have to detain me.
Okay, dispatch, we've got a crew coming northbound.
Excuse me. Is there a reason that you're keeping his goggles?
He's
Are
not
you
here to
keeping my
swim.
goggles?
Yes.
Why are you keeping my goggles? Is it illegal to have goggles? So when you use chemical weapons, I won't be able to protect myself? No, I don't have all of my stuff. Give me my goggles back.
You're not getting your goggles back.
Why?
Unless you want to give us your name, we'll give you a proper
Why do you need
receipt.
my name? Because I'm breaking
So we
the
can
law?
fill out
What
a
law?
property
Can you please
receipt
tell
for
me
you.
what law?
We can't even have this one. It's ongoing debate.
Okay.
One sided.
Toronto has been turned into a police state. I mean, there are just police everywhere. They're searching you, your knapsacks when you come into a park. They're asking for your identity. These are public relations exercises
posting the
that
Public
are
Act,
increasingly about
the Public Works Protection
intimidation.
Act.
I mean, intimidation
my
may be the
ex.
main message.
So if you're interested, look at me on
Not
X.
anything else that's going to come out of it.
And in Lincoln.
They're telling us where we can march instead of letting us go where we want to go. Then people go home because they don't want to deal with this, which is totally understandable.
Yep, 2010. And Bill Blair, even then, he's a chief of fucking police in Toronto. Then, like, I keep on swearing. I'm so sorry. I just get like I get triggered with this stuff, right? And so like, it makes me smoke pot. So for years, myself and others have been screaming about so many different things that were enacted illegally and against the citizens. And even within Toronto and all of Ontario, like people that I know that have worked with him personally do not have anything good to say about William Blair, Bill Blair. So how the fuck is he our Minister of National Defense? This is the thing, like people that have worked with him and around him and for over a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, this guy has shown what he fucking does and what he's about. He needs to be fired and jailed.
How's it going, buddy? Good. Fellas? All right. You brought it back. Perfect. Oh, yes. First.
Some more street satire?
Oh, yeah.
Charlie, tell us a little bit about what happened to you when you got detained there and just explain the ordeal that you went through.
Yeah, I was just a bit too slow to show my identification, and I made the terrible, terrible criminal error, like real violent error of asking the policeman if he could show me some identification first. I spent 5 hours sat on a bench in the Union Street Station security office under CCTV surveillance. They're recording everything.
Your CCTV
and they kept me there
surveillance.
for 5 hours on a wooden bench with my hands tied behind my back with handcuffs. After that, they sent an immigration detective down from the Canadian immigration because they said that I was in the country illegally, that they had no record of my entry into Canada. So then I got thrown in the back of a van, again with the handcuffs still behind my back, and driven for about 15 minutes to the Toronto Film Studios. But I didn't know it was the Toronto Film Studios until I left. They strip searched me again. A sergeant interviewed me under CCTV again. Then I got taken into this massive open room about the size of 2 football pitches, like black everywhere. And they'd set up like strip lighting, fluorescent lighting, and above each cage, they had 2 CCTV cameras and a little toilet in the corner with cameras pointing at that as well. And it was like something out of the X-Files. It was like something out of a horror movie, a place where it was like an Area 51 where they'd house aliens or something, because it was like dark and scary and really cold. Can't believe it.
Yeah, and so people that I've said this before for years, even during the pandemic, I was fucking terrified because I'm like, they have these quarantine camps and friggin' like caged areas all over Ontario, and people were calling me a fucking conspiracy theorist. All of this shit. Like, oh yeah, like, all this fucking crazy stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you? I'm showing you the fucking proof. I just wish people would actually look at it, right?
That's such a lengthy
And these are people, personal accounts with video footage and all that stuff.
incarceration, custodial sentence over.
People have been saying this
something
for
which I think
years.
is minor. It's my first time ever in Canada. I was in the country for one day. It was a massive miscommunication between myself and the guard or peace officer.
Okay.
I was fully willing to give my ID, just not in the aggressive manner he was wanting. And now I've had the longest, a very long prison sentence already, in my opinion. And I'm very stressed, very upset.
Okay.
And it just doesn't feel very becoming of a civilized country like Canada. I've been held in a cold cage in a warehouse for many hours. And before that, I had my
A cage in a
hands
warehouse?
cuffed behind my back for 4 hours before I got brought here. And it doesn't feel right.
I appreciate your comments. There are unfortunately, some exceptional circumstances within the city right now, but I do appreciate your comments.
That's the excuses. Oh, there's some exceptional circumstances right now, just like the Freedom Convoy. Oh, there's exceptional circumstances. Like, oh my god,
That's the arrangement.
I get so fired up. Oh my
It's a
god.
temporary facility.
Temporary
right now.
facility is not like a regular police station.
You treat me like this is Guantanamo Bay. Like, this isn't right. I'm going to make some very big complaints. 'Cause you can't treat
Perfectly
me
entitled.
Like, you shouldn't even be saying that. Just to be clear.
So I'm just going to ask you to step here.
If he took my SRDT course packages or heat, he wouldn't be talking like that. Let me tell you, you gotta fucking play. You need to operate in the gray. That's why, I've said this too to media. And people that were training media for certain other things. I'm just like, you need this needs to be incorporated in the courses, because they will be detained. And so I even used, ironically enough, Huntmar prison station for some scenarios that I was doing to train all levels of government, but the higher levels. And there's scenarios too where there's people where you are detained and you are questioned. And I won't get too much into it, but this is what I mean. My courses were top of the line, and even international companies that would come to Canada generally to teach these courses in the past. I've been told on the record that how I taught the courses, my content, my material was way better. And so the reason why I'm not still doing it right now is because I'm not vaccinated. And I'm hoping that they fucking change it at that level. But I'm in Ottawa, and this is, again, it's like getting hired in Seattle or in Washington D.C. not being vaccinated in government. Is that happening? People are using fake barcodes and they pretended they got vaccinated when they didn't. But people I don't know. And they also weren't as strict as Canada either, so it's not a good comparison with that. We were very strict.
Just going to re-secure you and escort you to the cell.
So then after the judge said I was okay to be released, they put me in jail again for another 3 hours. And I was only released at midday the following day. So for not showing my identification quickly enough, 21 hours in jail in a kind of makeshift.
So after that conversation, they gave him another 3 hours, I think is what they were saying. And it's probably because of how he was talking. And it's not right. I'm not saying it's right, but you are literally you have to practice conduct after capture. And within that conduct after capture, whatever you want to call it, there is the captured piece and how to respond and act during the captured piece.
Guantanamo Bay kind of warehouse.
June 23rd, I was at Jack Astor's following a baseball game. I went to a baseball game with 4 of my friends. I spoke to 2 female RCMP officers and asked them where they were from, and they were unresponsive. They didn't have anything to say. So in passing, I just stated, good luck with Saturday. And nothing happened. We got into my cab. Right at the corner here of Front and Simcoe, the cab was stopped by a Toronto police car. And at that point, I was taken by the arm, and a line of questioning began. First questions were, what are you doing in the area? And I explained, I was here with a baseball game, I was in the cab going to my girlfriend's house. At that point, they put me in handcuffs and basically said, we're going to ask you some questions. Well, the arresting officer was asking me questions about what I allegedly said to the RCMP officers. Then 2 female officers literally got in my face and said, you don't remember telling us good luck with Saturday? And at that point, I was like, yeah, I said that. What transpired next was just beyond unbelievable. I never thought that anything like this would ever happen to me. During the booking, I knew that, this wasn't a valid arrest. They went into my pockets, took my ID out. They didn't even ask me for my ID in the streets, just helped themselves to it.
Didn't tell me why I was.
So for me, like that seems like suspicious behavior, and so like I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be like unbiased with this. It's been a while since I watched this, and but even with that, like why would you say good luck on Saturday? Like talking to RCMP, like it just seems like something like to get like an info ops. That's what it looks like, right? Like people could possibly be surveying and seeing how we respond to this person and stuff like that. So like there's just so much to consider that he's not considering, and this is why journalists, you need to fucking call me. And law enforcement and stuff like that, like you need to take these courses because you don't understand the bigger picture. Like even with Rebel News, like it's not a real, like it's not, they're not proper news, and countless others. Like there's just and even with what we're calling independent journalists, people that felt the desperate need to get this information out, they're some of them are honestly they're in over their heads, and or they're doing things unaware of how suspicious it actually is.
Being arrested, tell me what I was being arrested with, but no explanation.
Because even for me, like if you say like good luck on Saturday, like why the fuck did he say that?
I didn't want to say anything. I said I
why are you
remain
asking me
silent.
about like
You know, I
where
don't
I
know what this
live?
is all about. I want to speak to a lawyer or duty counsel. And that was the wrong answer. That's what made me go to 52 Division, and a booking sergeant from around the table.
So play stupid games
Came
sometimes.
around, grabbed me by the neck, while the two arresting officers held me by the shoulders, took me to a room directly behind me, shut the door. I asked them what they were doing, and they said, "We're strip searching you." It wasn't, please take your clothes off. It wasn't, there was no explanation. As soon as the door shut, the booking sergeant staff began beating me in the face. Every time he hit me in the face, he would use an open hand, kicked me in the legs, beat me in the torso.
Yeah, so these are things that like you hope don't happen in Canada, but spoiler alert, this stuff happens in Canada. And I'm not justifying it. I'm sharing this because this is like obviously fucked up. You know, like the response is obviously like grossly fucking way overdone, especially like as soon as they found out that he was a journalist or whatever, he should have explained himself properly. And so like this is obviously a gross invasion. But again, like when you play stupid games, why play stupid games? You could report, you could be there, you could be peaceful. I went to the Freedom Convoy knowing what the fuck could possibly happen. You know what I mean? I was a little stressed out about that, but I was being peaceful. I didn't bring anything on me like that could be seen as a threat to anyone. Like I made sure of that. I made sure that like even though it was cold, that I didn't look like I was like having anything suspicious like in my jackets, you know, like you fucking name it. And I was freezing, but I wanted to make sure that I looked like I was a non-threat because I didn't want anyone to be on high alert. You know, when it was already you know like an intense place, right? I knew there was going to be like embedded government. I knew there was going to be plants. I knew there was going to be crisis actors and people that were going to be trying to aid and abet and elicit emotional responses and people. I knew all of that stuff. I knew there was going to be people like Ray Epps trying to get people in Parliament, and we did have Brian Fox. You know, Brian Fox, head of Enterprise, a millionaire leftist who's donated to the Liberal campaign, who knows Justin Trudeau, who knows Brian Fox, and all of these people. I've shared the proof. Like he wanted to incite a riot, and people didn't bite, right? And so don't do stupid fucking things. Like it's all I can recommend. And this would be part of the course content that I provide to people. And even when you go to different countries, don't think that because you come from a first world fucking country that if you go there, it's going to be like the same rules apply. It absolutely does not. And I have seen people unfortunately die because of that, and or even heard of people that have died because of ignorance and or entitlement. Actually, more entitlement than ignorance too, oftentimes as well. And people do not understand the reality of the world. And also a fun fact with what's going on in the U.S. In Michigan, I forget what place in Michigan. But they voted in a Muslim government, which is fine. But they're now banning the pride flag in that community, and so there's a lot of people that are now up in arms about that from the LGBTQ plus community, and so that's interesting.
Defensive bruising just from being like this. At no point did I fight back. I had two guys holding me, one guy literally beating me up. They just tore my clothes off. They didn't say, you know, take your clothes off, we want to strip search you. They didn't explain. Shirt was ripped open, literally grabbed me by the bottom of my pants and flipped me like this so that the back of my head hit the concrete floor. Completely ripped my clothes off. At this point, I'm completely naked. I have one man sitting on me, beating me like this, while the other two are holding me down. At that point, I sat around naked for 5 hours, and one of the arresting officers, I believe 8330, if I'm correct, I have the information here, came and asked me to stand. Stood. He took my underwear, which was up against the wall, and kicked it underneath the cell and told me to get decent, because what he explained were detectives were coming to ask me some questions. I asked them for their IDs and if they were in fact Toronto police officers, because they were in plain clothes. And they just took the stance that, listen, we can either help you out with this, or you can kind of continue this way and you're gonna get no help. So I just said, okay, that's fine. If I could just have your names. And they looked at each other, and one of the officers said, I'm Officer C, and this is Officer 6. They sat me down and started asking me questions about what I know, what is going to happen on Saturday, if I know any information, if I know any information about labor groups, if I belong to a labor group. I had no answers.
So you were arrested and detained, thrown in a cruiser, beaten up, strip searched.
And spoiler alert, like that brutality, that cop brutality, it's not part of the training.
All because you said good luck on Saturday.
Good luck with Saturday.
Even me in the infantry, going to war, like all of that shit would never. And we even disbanded an entire fucking regiment over Somalia. So that Toronto police, are they going to again? This is like a decade and a half ago. Somalia, a couple of pictures justifiably surfaced about torture happening there with a few soldiers. Disbanded an entire fucking airborne regiment. Patricia's on the West Coast. And we have people doing that to our own fucking citizens over just being stupid, just being silly. But they should know that, again, be on high alert, but then also be able to assess a threat and non-threat instead of continuing to escalate just because you have the fucking ability. This stuff is crazy to me. And I'm someone, again, with an infantry officer, way harder to be an infantry officer than to be a chief of police, no offense. And serving for 15 years, and then beyond that, serving the higher levels of government, top secret government clearance. And this is why I'm also frustrated with CSIS as well, because again, these people involved in this, it's not okay. What they're doing is they're intentionally targeting people that are a certain demographic, not realizing that we're on the same side, or we should be on the same side. We should all be on Canada's side.
Big protest expected, big march expected this afternoon. And we're going to check in now with Stephen D'Souza, who's been monitoring it for us from the Queen's Park area. That's the Ontario Legislature in downtown Toronto. Stephen, what can you tell us?
And yet
there are 10, well, at least,
and then even in Toronto, in a mall in Toronto, there were people that were protesting for Palestine. I understand that. I've been speaking out about what's going on with genocides and stuff like that, and but people that are actually pro terrorism or pro crimes against humanity against any fucking group, I'm clearly going to speak out against as well. And I do believe that Jewish people are also getting singled out and targeted because of lobbyists and propagandists and people that are not good people that are exploiting them as well. And I don't even know where I was going with this. I get just so fucking fired up with this. It was about brutality and escalation of force and stuff like that.
10,000 people who have gathered here for a range of issues, everything from...
threatening to kill law enforcement. It's literally on video, on the record. You could identify this guy. Actually, was he literally said he'd be 6 feet in the ground. And this guy, they let him walk. They let him fucking walk. And then also with protests that support a certain narrative, like a leftist, communist, socialist agenda, they're out giving donuts and coffee and stuff like that. But then they're like rubber bullets and fucking tear gas against parents, against families, against more traditional valued people. Wake up, see what you're fucking doing. Literally, they're acting like Nazis. They're collapsing our society and they're willfully abusing people, and they would absolutely kill if the order was given to kill, because even psychopath David Lametti, a little pussy, Canadian soy boy, okay, that's never done anything. He wouldn't even pass a day at boot camp. Okay, a weak man bragging and laughing like about the possibility of employing tanks on peaceful protesters with Marco Mendicino, who's our public safety officer. These people are crazy. Crazy.
War to the environment. Labor groups are here. A number
We've
of
allowed
various
criminals to run the show.
ethnic groups. There are so many people here, all gathered to protest the G20. I want to bring in one guest here, who's Zoe Caron from WWF Canada. And your issue is environment and climate change hasn't really been on the agenda here. So what
it's not going to get better while they're still in.
Well, it's the first time in a very long time that climate change is
Wake
pushed
up.
off of the agenda.
Keep getting worse.
Organic countries will be coming out with their commitments. India came out yesterday, big deal. They said they're going to phase out their subsidies to oil and gas. U.S. is pushing it really hard. They're going to save $54 billion in the next 5 years by phasing out those same subsidies. So we're hoping Canada will follow suit. We have $2 billion a year in those subsidies, and then we can transition those funds to go towards renewable energy and climate change funds.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Good luck with your protest this week.
Like legend, whoever this is, I would love to keep. Like I want to interview.
So, Peter, there you have it. The crowd is just marshaling. They just finished up the speeches here. So the crowd is just marshaling now. They're going to head south on University Avenue towards the fence where the summit site is, but they're going to stop a few blocks away and head west before circling around. But I can say, though, that while about 98% of the people here are going to be peaceful, we do know that there are some elements who have posted online and who have spoken out saying that they aren't going to make that turn and are going to continue straight towards the fence. And they are groups that are anarchists who do not believe that the G8 and the G20 are a legitimate organization, and they're going to cause some trouble later today. And so we're going to be keeping a close eye out for that.
I can't see how far it goes.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, private citizens, don't film me, okay?
What's that?
Don't film me, private citizen, okay? That better not be on any TV. I'm a private citizen. I'm calling you, okay? I have
He's a
rights,
public
okay?
servant.
Yeah. We're in a public area as well.
And
he's a public servant.
So I want my permission back.
Oh my God. And he's not a cop.
I've never seen.
He likely CSIS. He could be like a field team member. He could be like private security. They also work with them, like I've said. Could be global affairs. It could be. You name
look
it.
so badass.
There's so many different people it could be, and it's for their own fun. Some people like some people literally are in organizations just because that's where they can pray. Not all.
Whoa, these are all these vans full of riot cops here.
Gentlemen.
How are you?
Yeah, of course. I'm Charlie Beach from London, England. I'm a filmmaker. These are my filmmaker friends.
Ask you to just keep your distance from our people. You're going to have to leave this area.
Are we able to continue north?
No.
Okay.
So, for G20 summit, why are people not allowed to ask questions? Why are we not allowed to ask questions? Why do people have to be literally city blocks away in our own yeah?
Can we go this way?
By way of arrest, you're going to go south to. I'm going to suggest.
They literally think they own the world.
To you that you go down to King.
All right, then. Okay.
And then go east or west, because unfortunately you're going to be meeting a lot of police officers along the way, and you're going to be getting direction.
Okay. We're trying to make our way to the protest.
It won't happen here.
What won't?
You won't be making it to the protest from here.
Okay, so we got to get there another way.
All the way across.
Oh.
So you can tell your friends that as well. So head that direction.
Sure. All right.
Freedom of speech.
I would like to see the rules of engagement cops are given for protests. I'd like to see it actually in writing, just like we received before deployments. We would receive rules of engagement, and especially officers, and you had to abide by the rules of engagement clearly. And then even overseas, if there was any amendments or changes to our rules of engagement, everyone had to be immediately notified, literally everywhere in every area of operation. and everyone accounted for, all materials, all resources accounted for in every area of operation as well. And so I guarantee that that level of coordination is lacking in Canada because of the people that are hiring are completely, unfortunately, incompetent. Not the people on the ground doing the work. It's not even blaming them. It's like their leadership is giving people free reign and authority to be bullies and crazy. And there's people within, like they're not reining these people in when they're supposed to be. And people like Helen Gruce and myself, like people that like call people out from within, we end up getting targeted and attacked from the guys like that were just speaking. And they're intimidating to guys. Imagine how intimidating they are to women when they're doing the same thing to us, like they're targeting us. Yeah. That's why more men in Canada.
We are now in the thick of it, behind the front lines along Queen Street. We managed to get up in behind the police line that you can see behind me. We have a lot of riot police all geared up.
Is that it? Yeah. Where are you going now?
Thank you very much, sir.
Stay south here, okay?
If you try and disobey, they have some very, very painful-looking metal truncheon extendable sticks at the ready. These things are not sheathed in their clothing. They're holding their weapons out, ready to use.
And by the way, with their batons unsheathed, I am a use of force instructor, fun fact, and I teach baton training and handcuff training and use of force training like that, like as I mentioned. And if you unsheath your fucking baton, that is considered an escalation of force, and you actually have to write a report on that and stuff like that as well. Like that is not the start state at all. And if you holster, even if you don't even take your gun out of your holster, even if you just like unlock your holster, whatever kind of holster you have, there's multiple different versions, or even just like take it out of its fucking like out. That's also seen as an escalation of force, and it has to be reported. A baton is considered to be a lethal weapon.
Like literally right there. I know, and I can't help you at the moment. I can't even let you through. And I know it's a real pain.
It's terrible training, and this mortifies me because like there's no excuses in this. Like the training, all of this stuff that's going on right now, it's like I'm talking over people. I just get so frustrated. I'll let
Yeah, well, you are. Thank you. Follow everybody else for your safety. Yes, we're not saying it for the hell of it. Please keep moving.
If you do not leave, I will have you arrested for obstructing a police officer. This is for your safety, people, that we're asking you to move back.
Charlie and I are having a pretty difficult time of getting anywhere near any kind of front line. We keep being turned.
What are you protecting them from? Oh, right, from you. Oh, right. That's right.
Around at every corner. They're constantly sending us back, pushing us back. So we're going to head down south and try to get over across from another route.
Every route that is traveling west, that travels north-south, is actually blocked off. You can't really see it at the moment. We are blocked off into this one area. We've got mounted police to my left. On the other side, riot police, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of riot police on foot, in vehicles, on horses, on bikes, on motorcycles. They are absolutely everywhere.
Right here. Why employ it when there's... So much to say.
Well, I think the value of direct action should be concrete. We should do things that aren't symbolic, but rather accomplish things here and now. Directly shut something down, or at least cause so much financial damage that our message gets to the CEOs. What's your message? Our message is that commodification of life is wrong, dominionism is wrong, capitalism is wrong, and that all beings desire freedom. We gotta go.
my fucking actual protesters, that's cops. And government working with cops. And actors working with cops. Just like January 6th, just like the Freedom Convoy, just like so many other friggin' events. And no, not every law enforcement person is doing it. They want people to put the bait.
No, the Black Bloc members are actually moving past City Hall at this point. So it's very interesting.
The best thing to do, just like I said before, the Freedom Convoy, like record everything. Do not follow anyone anywhere. If there's any crimes like happening, record and get out and move away. Get away from it, okay? Because these are possibly again like ways to bait you into being like associated with crimes that you did not commit, nor did you have any fucking plan of committing ever. And it's actual people within government doing it. And that's why I was saying, even with what's going on at the border in the U.S. and other areas as well, like I was saying, like there's so much embellishment going on as well, and it's by design. Like with it focusing on the border, they're trying to get people that are MAGA or extreme Republicans or whatever you want to call it to like make their way there. And I was saying to people, I'm like, that's just they're just like canalizing you into an area. There's gonna be so many friggin' actors, like actual like civilians and like government agencies of varying organizations of varying sorts, and they're going to and they're doing this just to bait people just because they have like I don't know, for entertainment, for money, like for I don't know, because like they're fundraisers, like Soros and Bill Gates wants them to do that. There's a lot of crisis actors at the border also being used. And there's huge indicators that I've shared in other videos as to why.
Yeah, Facebook.
Let's get some help here. Go south! Get out of here! Yes, again!
Like, is that a response of people that are actually other law enforcement that are seeing fucking cop cars get hit? Like, come on, guys. Like I don't know. Someday this will reach cabinet and they'll call me so I can train them on the courses I teach.
Hey, get this. Sorry,
so we can stop this shit.
At this point, they've set the car on fire.
Land staged. $119.
Your camera's gonna go.
Freedom of press. Police have actually started to back up on their perimeter here on Queen Street West.
What are they?
They think they're winning something, they're just being called back. Again, this is staged and planned. Like a riot fucking team like that is not just gonna like walk away because they won because of that. No, like this is all again like it's all smoke and mirrors.
Getting our money first. Getting our money first.
This is just a photo op. This is just a photo op.
Yeah.
We can do better
They think that.
than this.
Just a
If you believe this, I don't know what to tell you. There's still people that believe this.
Everybody thinks demonstrators are nothing but
There's no police at all, at least not where we are, because there's broken windows everywhere all along the street. There's a cop car on fire. Just doesn't make sense.
Now at this point, it looks like they've turned left on College Street.
As I'm walking up University, that's where I see the vans pull up. A huge row of vans of riot cops, and they pull up really fast. And as I cross the street, I see the Black Bloc walking down College Street. This was probably right after they smashed the Toronto Police Headquarters. The Black Bloc gets there, I cross the street, and there's one van just parked by itself. Like, and that's, to me, that sort of seemed like a setup. I could see the cops starting to get out of the vans across the street, the riot cops, and then they sort of formed one of those lines again. And then something happened with the black, like a lot of the people that were smashing the van would like run into Queen's Park, and it's like sort of like you lose track of them. I guess a lot of them were changing because there was a pile of black clothes. I can definitely say that I saw that.
So for about an hour and a half, a group of maybe 50 kids were purposely allowed to vandalize the entire city, go do as much vandalism as they wanted. The police were ordered to stand down, as had come out in a Toronto Sun article, where a policeman said, yes, we were ordered to stand down. We could have easily rounded up all these kids.
There was an article in the Toronto Sun where officers were told to stand down and not engage violent protesters. So there are members of the police that feel that it was not right for them either.
Exactly.
I think with the number of police that were here, and some of them have shared their opinions in the Sun, that they could have clamped down on that quite quickly and allowed for legitimate protesting. We need to ask why that wasn't done.
This is what I mean. Like,
who gave those orders?
Like, people give me like these friggin' these videos and footage that they think is friggin' real from like CTV, CBC, Fox, Global, you name it. And I'm like, bro, that's so fake. Like, even if I've been doing this for years, people that know me, I've been doing this for years, but like even the blood, I'm like, it's fake blood. Like it's pink. That's not even the right color. Like,
because anyway. There are people in the police force that don't even know who
once you know, you know. Like,
and that's frustrating for them. And I think that's a dangerous spiral to go down. There's also questions about the police cars that were left abandoned. And I think those are valid questions. I know that they want to swipe them off as conspiracy theories, but when you have that many police cars left in an area and people see that there's no police stopping what's going on, you have to answer as to why that was.
How an hour and a half of destruction happens with police looking on and doing nothing, I find more than highly suspect. Maybe if they were involved, yeah, there's more than reason to believe that. And if they weren't, they still let it happen. One way or another, we all have an obligation to find out what the truth is. I don't care what side of the political fence you're on, you should care about the truth.
100%. Why am I yelling?
Without warning, that whole line of fully seated riot cops ran toward us at full speed, the bike cops included. Within a matter of seconds, they were on my heels yelling, "Go faster, you're going to get hurt, go faster, we're going to gas you." And it made me feel a way that I've never felt before in my own country. I was absolutely afraid of the police.
Yeah, another thing that me, because even with the infantry, like you do like the crowd control training, you do riot control training, all of that stuff because of where we operate, like internationally. You know, there's going to be people asking questions. Always going to be asking questions, even within Canada. Like when we do training, there are people that legitimately ask us questions about what we're doing in certain areas and stuff like that, and we're bound to answer these questions, right? Or get someone there to represent you on your behalf, or the organization to speak on behalf of your agency and why you're there. You have, like, that's your job. And so like these people that are doing this and saying like, oh, we don't have to like tell people our ID, we don't have to say our names, or we don't have to say like what we're, like you're getting paid to do that. You don't understand how, like, I just wish we had people that were like just better people in. I just keep saying it, but we just need better training, better people in at the higher levels, better people in at the higher levels I'm talking about, because this is where it impacts people, right? Like even with Wayne Eyre, like he destroyed the military, and it's based on everything that he's been implementing and pushing and standing for. And it didn't take long.
Then without warning, they started advancing.
Same thing with Bill Blair.
Grabbing people randomly, and they started sending horses into the crowd.
Destroyed
where at least a few
Ontario
people
police
were injured.
forces.
One woman was trampled. I believe her leg was broken. Somebody else I saw get kicked by one of the officers on the horse. And of course, you know, they just started advancing and grabbing people randomly, and then advancing more, without ever communicating to us.
And so I want to reiterate, that's like literally like, so when I was in Afghanistan, we were in Kandahar. I was doing a convoy operation back to CAF from Massamgar, I believe it was at the time. And there was a huge IED, which is an improvised explosive device that hit the major highway on a route in, and we were just passing through with like the traffic circle in Kandahar City, and so we had to I get it, like I wasn't the convoy commander at the time. It was a huge one. There was like way higher ranking people than me for this, and so like you dismount, you do your 5s and 20s, and they because like the order was made to stop and just like assess the situation and find like a different route, an alternate route, and because there was like a mixture of people, like again like anyway, and so but I couldn't imagine like with the crowd control, like people were coming in, they were like they were looking at us and curious and stuff like that. And like there's just different ways you have to interact and like what to do to not escalate, right? Because people even there were not happy that we were there, especially like interrupting a fucking traffic circle. Like we don't own the place. This is what I mean. Anyway, like we weren't like I've never been into an area like even for like even peacekeeping missions and stuff like that, like where you're going kicking the fucking civilians, like the innocent children and women and stuff like that, like in the villages and stuff like that. Like these people are crazy. Like this is like literally like to me like the equivalent of like raping and pillaging that was authorized and even promoted, you know, in the freaking dark ages. Like, are we back in the dark ages?
Why they were doing it? There's never.
Did you ever leave the dark ages?
From Queen's Park issue.
Slowly evolving? No.
Myself and other people kept yelling at the police, asking for somebody to come forward that speaks for the police to communicate why they were doing what they were doing, why they were starting to become aggressive with this. But there was never any negotiator or anybody stepped forward. It seemed like it was just something that was taking on a life of its own.
I've got a comment on Rumble. I don't know how to share it, but like just talking about like how they're hoping that Canadian lawyers are working overtime on this. I'm in Ontario. I'm still looking for a lawyer to help me with so many different things, like even with this stuff that I've tried to put together, and there's so many conflicts of interest. It would blow your friggin' mind, or people that won't even touch it because they're like, this is way bigger than me. They're like, this this web runs deep, like internationally too, with with people that are pushing these these agendas and creating these scripts. And again, you have to play close out with the time to do like. Oh, yeah. They just want to fight. So it's like, oh, with a baton. How many crisis actors?
Some of the photos and videos that have gone on Facebook seem to show people dressed in black bloc attire going behind a police line. And if that's an option that was taken, they need to explain why. They need to explain who made that decision. And if the Canadian public don't want to see that on their...
And what she's missing is, like, it wasn't just like the black clothes. There was also people that were plain clothes, looked like civilians, that threw out their batons. Like, again,
oil. They have to put measures into place that'll never be repeated again.
You know, this is a global corporate fascist takeover. And we saw their enforcers firsthand here in Toronto with the G20. And, you know, if you read the stories or, you know, listen to some of these interviews or anything like that, you'll realize it was just, you know, a bunch of thugs came in and, you know, criminal thugs started beating up, assaulting, arresting, and horribly treating a bunch of peaceful, innocent Canadians. You know, they ripped the leg off a 57-year-old amputee and told him to hop to the squad car and arrested him.
And you were a government employee, right?
Yeah, I work for the Canada Revenue Agency.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the appeals section.
I'm an above-the-knee amputee, and the police surrounded us, and the two young gentlemen were trying to help me get up. I fell down, I lost my balance, and I was trying to get up again, and next thing you know, there were 4 police jumped right on top of me. One of them put his knee on the top of my left temple and was just sort of like grinding me into the ground with his knee. They had knocked my glasses off, and I was yelling that my glasses were loose. And then the police said, "Well, you're resisting arrest." And he said, "Let go of your arm, or else I'm going to break it." But I said, "I can't move." The police officer told me to walk, and I told him I can't. Then he grabbed my left leg here, and he ripped it off. So then he orders me to hop, and I said, "I can't." And then he said, "You asked for it." So 2 police came and they grabbed me under the shoulders like this, and then they started dragging me backwards to where they all had the police vans parked, and my elbows were digging after a while into the pavement, and I was screaming. I was in a lot of pain. They hoisted me up in the air, and then they started hitting me, I guess with their batons or whatever, or their fists. And as they were running me towards the police van, they were saying things like, "He's a biter, he's a spitter, he's resisting arrest." So we got up to the police van, they threw me on the ground, and they started giving me these little boots with their boots and hitting me. And I was held at the detention center for over 24 hours. I was never charged. They said they couldn't find my arrest, the paperwork, my arrest report, they never could find it. They never allowed me a phone call or any of that stuff. They wouldn't let me wear my leg. They said it could be used as a weapon, or it might have a weapon inside of it. I felt brutalized when I went through it, when they took me down, the way they did it. I mean, if they had tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You're under arrest," I would, you know, I would have complied. There was no need to do what they did.
And you can see that people are being pushed out of Queen's Park by police.
So rather than being penned in here, we decided to kind of retreat to the streets, to a place that was a more public space and that was not under immediate control by the police.
This information needs to get shared in Canada.
When we got
and
to
this is what we're getting
from
east, actually being able
and
to
then
watch.
eventually to Yonge Street, where we turned south. And at that point,
and that's not even like, that's one story of so many countless ones, like even veterans and stuff like that, like they were absolutely brutalized and tortured and imprisoned, you know, like forced isolation for extended periods of time, absolutely tortured by people who have never been of service to Canada, never been of service to their communities ever, but wear a fucking uniform and pretend and fake that they are of service. That's stolen valor, in my humble opinion. and anyone that supports it and enables this in uniform, you are part of the fucking stolen valor as well. Like, you don't deserve to wear the fucking uniform. I would never do that. Even like in other areas, I couldn't imagine going to villages and stuff like that and like treating the fucking civilians like that. And our cops, our own fucking cops, are doing it to our own here in Canada. This is what I mean. Like, myself and other people that watch this stuff, we're disgusted by it.
Point, the protest started snaking. So
we could do so much better than
we
this.
kind of changed the game up a bit. You know, we forced the cops to react
People
to
that have
us
been through
rather than
so
being
much
able
worse.
to predict where we were going.
People that have put our lives on the line, like even walking through fucking IED infested fucking areas and driving through areas to be of service, not knowing that 9/11 was staged and planned at the time, but waking the fuck up. And then we have people in Canada that are fucking predators that are in uniform somehow, and they're using their uniform to do what they did to that old man. And imagine if that was you or your grandfather or your child.
And so we would zig or zag if we started seeing a police
That's not
lineup down
trained.
the street.
Welcome to the New World Order.
That's some
You will
brainwashing
do
shit.
as you are told. Do not rock the boat. Do not question authority. Toronto Police, you are as much victims of this global empire as we are. The true criminals you want to arrest are within the Summit Exclusion Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Love Police. We are the true authority here. We ask the Toronto Police to hand over your truncheons and your tear gas guns. You are making a terrible mistake. You have been misguided by the global elites. You think we are your enemy. Your enemy are your puppet masters at the top of your hierarchy of control. Welcome to the surveillance state. Welcome to the destruction of civil liberties for the pursuit of profit. You are all potential terrorists in the face of the New World Order. And this is a special message to the guy just there in the black paramilitary uniform holding a MP5 submachine gun. Sir, why have you brought a live firing weapon to a peaceful protest? Why is the government trying to antagonize peaceful people by bringing live weapons to a protest?
There are little pockets all over the city. Things that are going on right now are not being contained in any one particular area. We have heard that there have been people setting police cruisers on fire.
The police are
fishy about it. Well, I was here 3 hours ago, and the cars are sitting there, and they're not burned. Next thing, the police scatter. Then one car is burned. They come back, force everybody out, and then they leave again. And then another car is burned. Like, why didn't they pull the cars out of here? They had enough manpower to get everybody out of here, and then they just scattered. I don't understand it. If they're looking for a photo op,
How many hours?
Why is the CBC news van?
How many tow trucks did they get? Law enforcement tow trucks, by the way, because law enforcement has tow trucks too. Like for the Freedom Convoy, like even for transport trucks, there was they were getting towed. That was very fast at the Emergency Act.
Still there.
Very fast.
they still have the CBC news van right beside the flaming vehicle, but they've cleared everybody else out. So a little bit curious there that they still want the mainstream media right beside the flaming police car.
It was a photo op for the media so that they can, I'm telling you, the car was on fire for a long, long time. No cops around, no fire trucks. It was allowed to burn.
I'm going to tell you why no cops around, because they were running the other way. If you were a firefighter, would you have liked to go in there and try to put that?
That's their job, and that's what I mean too. Like if they actually didn't know about it and they weren't already aware of it, they would have already responded to it. Because even in Ottawa, they respond to fires immediately and put it out. Would you wanna go in and go against that fire with a fire truck with a lot of fucking water? Yeah. If I was a firefighter, yeah. What is wrong with these people? And how many precincts were in this area alone? Like how many fucking fire trucks could have been called within fucking 5 minutes? This is a farce. Like anyone, like
Absolutely, yeah. There's lots of fire trucks around. That's what they got to do.
I hate it.
Don't back up, my man. Somebody's going to arrest
I hate it. Ah.
So here we are. We've just marched all the way down Yonge Street. We're back where we started at Dundas Square. We started here about 10 hours ago.
Peaceful protest! 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 United will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
And about 10:30, I was walking down by Queen Street and Church Street, by Queen and Church. There was about 16 police officers all around a light pole that was blinking and shorting out. So I said over the megaphone, I said, $1 billion to defend a blinking light.
One of the group members, he had the megaphone, and he was ahead of me. And he didn't even get like one or two words out of the megaphone. And immediately they jumped him.
They grabbed my head and smashed it against the wall, like pretty damn hard. And before I could even get up, they grabbed me by the throat and started choking me. He fell on top of me.
They're lucky they didn't kill him. Like, you smash a head on a concrete wall, like, you have no fucking, like, wow.
And I landed on top of the megaphone, and about 4 or 5 cops all jumped up, stacked up on me.
3 of them turned around towards me, and they extended their batons immediately, and they hit me with their batons 3 times in my chest, and they beat the chair relentlessly, continually beating the chair, telling me to turn around, like, get the F out of here.
I tried to blurt my phone number out to a friend, and I was told that...
Yeah. Yes, you heard that right.
Fell on top of me, and I landed on top of the megaphone.
That guy's in a
and
wheelchair, and
about 4 or 5
cops.
cops all jumped up, stacked up on me.
3 of them turned around towards me, and they extended their batons immediately, and they hit me with their batons 3 times in my chest, and they beat the chair relentlessly.
Baton training. I have a PowerPoint presentation on it too, fun fact. So I'm ready to teach this anytime. That's not a point on the body. That's not a fucking point on the body that is ever taught. It's not. So to be clear, like, even for lethal or non-lethal strikes or blows for whatever escalation of forces requirement, that's not an area. Like, not even knees. Like, there's certain areas that are non-strikeable zones, and that is absolutely fucking one of them. Like, I just can't. This is what I mean. Like, the more you know and stuff like that, more people like me need to speak out on this stuff. I teach use of force. I'm a certified instructor, and even Chris Mandigma, who I would highly recommend. Like, if he watched this video, he would be disgusted. He wouldn't be shocked, obviously, but like, he would be disgusted because, like, he does not teach that either.
Continually beating the chair, telling me to turn around, like, get the F out of here.
I tried to blurt my phone number out to a friend, and I was told that if I were to say anything, that he would have to hold my neck in a position in which I would be unable to breathe.
I was trying to turn around, and they almost pushed me out of my chair as I was turning around.
Areas too, like,
continually beating the chair
to like the legs, like a major muscle area.
When I finally was able to turn around and
cause minimal
actually
damage,
start to wheel away, they can still continue to hit the chair, and they didn't stop until I was actually within at least 100 feet of them.
They arrested me for disturbing the peace, but it was before 11 o'clock, so I'm allowed. It's not a noise complaint or anything. I can use my free speech. They broke the megaphone. So this is what free speech in Canada looks like. Probably 10 to 15 hours I stayed in the cell. I was denied a phone call. I kept asking for my phone call. They wouldn't have read me my rights unless I actually brought it up and I said to them, hey, nobody's read me my rights. This is illegal. It was really intimidating, and I'm surprised that this is in my country.
Before we knew it, the streets started filling with riot cops, guys in tactical gear. Started getting pretty scary. We weren't really sure where to go. There was a group of about 200 people marching away from the security fence and heading east, and we live east, and they were chanting peaceful protests, so we joined up with them. There were some really cool people in the crowd, and we just sort of were getting ushered down south and ended up on the Esplanade in front of Novotel, and people were singing "Give Peace a Chance," all this kind of stuff, and it was really cool. There was no violence.
You have buildings on either side, but no real means of escape except for the actual streets. And the police blocked us off with one phalanx and then blocked us off with the other and then started closing in.
Before we knew it, we were barricaded in on both sides by riot cops who wouldn't answer any questions, wouldn't let us go. They were just completely stone-faced, and one of them even said, you should have left when we told you to, although they never told us to. And this couple came out of the Keg restaurants and tried to leave, and they said, it's too late. And the couple was like, what the hell is going on?
We were boxed in, and then we were pulled out one by one and arrested individually, and then eventually just kind of conquered and mass arrested.
All these 200 people end up getting arrested. It doesn't matter if you were passing through or if you lived in the condo or coming out of the restaurant. They wouldn't listen to you. Some guy tried to show ID that he lived in that condo, and they shot pepper bullets at his feet, and all these people went running and screaming into the Novotel.
It's like, listen, I live here. What do you want me to do? I was like, back up, and start shooting at me.
Even people who live in
attempted to communicate with us. They never spoke to us, and there was never any violence or destruction on our part either.
I had to watch my girlfriend dragged away and cuffed as they dragged her away, really roughly for absolutely no reason. Threw her in a paddy wagon. I got thrown in a paddy wagon, and before I knew it, I was in a prison bus full of guys, taken down to the detention center. I ended up being in that detention center for 24 hours. I couldn't believe what was happening.
And because people don't want to look bad that are still stealing our money, they're going after us. Anyone that speaks out on it. Anyone doing the right thing.
Obviously, this is the kind of stuff that we don't stand for whatsoever. This does not help our cause. This does not help the situation. It provides an excuse for the authorities to clamp down even harder on our rights.
Dan and I got searched 3 times in 30 minutes and had our IDs checked and radioed in. It's a predictive programming to train the public in urban areas to comply, to allow arbitrary.
I mean, for best protesters, like I do think that like protests are largely funded and planned and organized by people in government and actors that they use and profit and this is all for their own entertainment. You know, it's as ridiculous as that sounds, and whoever they can exploit and or elicit emotional responses in order to attend these events, and and sometimes people get desperate enough again to like to show a presence. Like I said, like the Freedom Convoy, more people came out because we were getting completely ignored by people like this who were, just using these, using events that they created in order to harm us. It's like really sick and twisted stuff, right? It's like blaming a rape victim for being raped. It's like blaming a rape victim that you broke into her house and raped her. It's weird fucking stuff, right? In Europe right now, there seems to be like good organization of like farmers, but like this is not stuff that works, right? Like unfortunately, it's not stuff that works. It's stuff that still achieves the same end goal, the end state, the division, the distraction, all the money that's thrown into these friggin' protests and convoys, and people like even attend them. This is money, and again, it's a distraction. And so what needs to be done is actually holding people accountable in a rational way, in a way that they have no choice but to listen peacefully, and so a protest is not it, unfortunately. And so trying to reach out and contact your local leaders and attending peacefully, but attending like meetings within your own jurisdiction and not allowing the pink and purple and blue haired people to like to continue to like walk away and not answer questions and look at actual data. We have to take our power back in a peaceful way and start putting in the work ourselves and the effort and actually investing time into addressing like I was saying, like I spent a significant amount of time reaching out to people within government, like to try to like unfuck this, right? And like, how many people do I know do that? Like literally no one, right? I've even like lost people like because of what I share. But it's important.
Searches of your bags, to go through checkpoints, to have police radio you in and have to give your details. Dan was actually very good today. A female police officer said, "Can we search your bag?" And Dan said no.
Do you mind if I take a peek?
I sort of do.
Totally up to you if you like to. I wouldn't mind.
Is that not part of the Public Protection Works Act? Or it's not mandatory for me to show you? Nope. Is that all right? Well, I'd rather not take.
Then 5 minutes later, another police officer said, "Yeah, you have to comply or you'll both be arrested." And so we both had our bags searched 3 times.
You're checking everybody after yesterday, guys. Mandatory now? Yes, it's mandatory. Another officer just told me it wasn't. Sure. We're here for your safety as well as everybody else. Yours as well. You saw what happened yesterday, right? What happened? See that happen yesterday? You were there yesterday? I was here, but a lot of things happened. What specific things? Well, there's some violence and some damage, and people were injured, and just want to make sure that doesn't happen again today.
It does leave a slight bad taste in our mouth to be arbitrarily searched in a free country, in a free area.
You want to stay? Then open your bag.
I thought as long as he's not within the 5 meters, though, it's fine.
Because that's legislation. This is our area. 5 meter, right?
What's
that?
Because
I didn't consent to a search, so I'll leave. You don't get
All of our
a
area.
choice. Get moving.
Where are you grabbing me?
Get moving. So take off. In Canada, that's something legit.
Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, how unhinged is that?
That's ain't Canada right now.
I just don't like to have my civil rights violated.
There's no civil rights here in this area. How many times you got to be told that?
That's on, but there are. Within 5 years of the fence, there's no civil rights. That's what the legislation said on Monday.
That was the rule. We'd all be behind the fence.
My understanding is the Public Works Act applies to 5 days.
I hope it's amazing. I hope he's retired and fucking away from They use his fucking wife, kids. Harsh to say, but he just loves it.
You don't have anything on you? No weapons or anything? No, I don't have anything on me. I'm now being searched and duress. I shouldn't have to be searched. I mean, I understand the situation today, so
you weren't planning to go through your pockets or anything.
Well, you still patted me down, and
that's for my safety, right?
If we refuse to surrender identification outside of the 5 meter boundary of the fence, that will be an arrestable offense, though, right?
You know what? If you've got some guys, you've got nothing to hide, you're just out here doing whatever.
Yeah, but it's within our rights, is it not?
I understand that's within your rights. But what I'm saying is, if you give an officer a hard time, I think that you're hiding something for whatever reason. So
for whatever reason.
Nothing to hide, and we want to.
Well, that's why I gave over my identification and subjected myself to a search.
If you refuse, then we start thinking, okay.
Arrests, and lots of them. Hundreds at last count, over 500, and they are still making them as we speak. This morning, highlighted by an arrest at the University of Toronto campuses, where police took in at least 70 people who they said were storing street weapons on campus.
I came out of where I was sleeping and identified myself as a member of the student union, and I was escorted out. I talked to a police officer, I guess, who was in charge, who was evasive. I said, I want to see a warrant, and he was being evasive and saying that we were trespassing. I said, no, we're not. This is our building. These are our guests. And then just looking for excuses, and finally got frustrated and just said, okay, everybody, here's under arrest.
We were arrested in the campus, and the charge were conspiracy to commit. And we didn't know what conspiracy to commit. So
They were actually in a gymnast that they have rented, and they got arrested. And when the police arrest them, they say that they arrest them for participating into a riot. My name is Mark. I'm from Montreal, Quebec. I've been arrested on the G20s. The charge against me are weapons. My weapons are a pair of tweezers, a waistcoat this big, 2 pairs of scissors, and a metal whistle.
A weapon. Are you mad?
Get back! Get back! Get out of the way! Backing up! I am backing up! I am backing up! The whole world is watching! The whole world is watching! The whole world is
And these are people that are not committing any crimes. Just to be clear, no one's committing any crimes. This is Canada. This is Canada over a decade ago. And it got worse, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what they shot at us.
Rallies that we have had in the past 24 hours where people are going to the jails to support their friends as they leave. We are finding that cops are also meeting them there with brutality. We've seen plainclothes cops snatch several demonstrators who were supporting their peers coming out of jail. We've seen them being snatched, being thrown into cars. We have seen cops prepared with tasers. This is not acceptable when we are already resisting the G8 and G20 violence, the violence that comes from their structures and policies.
You're hearing that, right? Innocent people getting snatched on the fucking streets by law enforcement. This is what we've allowed it to get to. And the guy that was allowing all of this stuff in Toronto is the Minister of National Defense right now, Bill Blair, and he makes $500,000 fucking dollars off of us to further enforce this type of Gestapo fucking Nazi type behavior in Canada that I have served and protected my entire fucking life, risked my life for, still am with what I'm sharing and stuff like that. And I've lost people, carried medals and berets during ramp fucking ceremonies of men who were way fucking better human beings than Bill Blair will ever fucking be. And the amount of harm and suffering and death that has been incurred in Canada because of him, I hope he gets arrested. I hope he gets jailed for life. It's bad leadership that infests and molds and makes fucking organizations parasitic. It can be turned around. Look at the Stanford prison experiments. I've said this. I've shared this. People could, like, within a few hours, people can assume the roles and the positions that they were assigned, even at risk to themselves and others. They will play a role. Okay, where people were assigned fighting-aged males, men in their 20s, with the Stanford. I've shared this for years. And then you've got the MK Ultra, the Universe 25, but the Stanford prison experiment, men willingly, college men, for a research experiment, like to be prisoners or to be prisoners or prison guards, and they were put into this like facility and stuff like that, and they were assigned their roles. They didn't know who was going to be who or whatever. And as soon as they got into their fucking assigned roles, they acted like the roles, like the characters they were given, right? So like they started acting like prisoners, guards started acting like guards, but then they were within hours they started to escalate force And then there was like all these fucking torture things going on. It turned out crazy within an hour, within a day. And then within 3 days, like they had to like shut it down. Like, this is fucking how crazy things got, right? And this was voluntary. They could have walked away at any time. And this is how our minds work. And then anyway, there's so many different effects people call this, but this is how easily influenced people can be, and it's terrifying. So like, yeah.
Like bubbles.
So many examples. Like even kids, like at a young age, right? Like you do the test, the behavioral studies tests, and sugar and salt to a kid looks similar, right? Especially in its like molecular form, not put in cake or chips. And the first few kids are intentionally given sugar, and you see the responses, and they describe the taste being sweet and all this stuff, and it's pleasant. And they don't let the kids know. But then eventually, at some point, they introduce salt, and the kids take the salt, like a few kids, and none of them even admit that it's bitter or like unpleasant and stuff like that. And they pretend that it's pleasant, even though it's not, because of the groupthink mentality, like the group mentality. They don't want to go against the norm or the expectations of the group. And this has been done countless times, even with government agencies, with high level people. They will say the incorrect answer if there was a series of incorrect answers before them, even though it's blatantly obvious what the answer is. They will go with what the average is. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we need proper leadership.
I think it makes people smile.
I got all these
My name is
Sorry.
a mystery. Oh? No, I have nothing to hide.
If the bubble touches me, I'm going to be arrested for assault. Do you understand? Yes, that's right. It's a deliberate act on your behalf. I'm going to arrest you. Do you understand me? Right, you're going to be in handcuffs. All right? You either knock it off with the bubble. If you touch me with that bubble, you're going into custody.
I don't feel very affected. I'm just
That's terrible.
trying to keep people happy.
My heart bleeds.
Mine too.
Right?
I'm here
Put it away.
to help people.
Right. Knock it off.
For
$1 billion, they could have got them over better out of it.
Like, he really doesn't like fucking bubbles, man.
Yeah, okay.
Are you
And that was a woman. Does he talk to his wife like that? Does he talk to his children like that? What a fucking psychopath.
I guess now famous Officer Bubbles.
I know great
Have a nice day.
officers. That would be one of them.
Have a nice day. My name is A. Joseph.
A.
Joseph.
That's Officer Joseph, sir.
Okay.
Sounds fair. Have a nice day.
How do you feel about the whole the video and everything that surfaced? Like, you know, looking back on it now.
There's nothing to look back on. Did my job. I'm a police officer, right? You touch me with that bubble, you're going into custody. Do you understand me?
He seemed less uptight though, so maybe he didn't know.
People are talking about how you took down your Facebook
Like, he's less
profile and
uptight.
stuff like that off there, and like, I mean, you know, there's been quite a bit of fallout because of that stuff. So.
My private life is not open for discussion, okay? Take care of yourself.
In public life, though, as a police officer.
Yeah, that's different.
We interviewed you a few years ago. You probably don't remember. You're calling your friend saying you're learning about the police state and you're thinking about changing your name to Boris.
It won't be me. You got the wrong guy. I'm just outside of City TV. I get educated about a police state. I feel like a communist already. I gotta change my name to Boris. Yeah, what's up?
See, he changed, man. He used to be legit, and then he fucking fell for the woke shit.
Oh, snap. You had an arrest, eh?
He used to be chill. That's sad.
There's 500 of them being arrested, I've heard. 500 people, that's a lot of people.
150, 300 people.
Maybe he was just having a bad day. We'll deal with that.
So,
because there's 2 videos where he seems chill, and there's 1 video where he doesn't. Maybe he was just having a bad fucking day.
originally the officer called and said, I need help.
Not enough evidence.
So a vehicle comes up, a mobile vehicle comes up, and he's surrounded by people, so he can't drive anywhere. Right. Hit people. So really, the prudent thing to do is abandon the vehicle, go. Well, once you do that,
then they can do whatever they want. I mean, it's a classic for the civil unrest. The old rolled over police car or
it's a
burning police car.
Yeah, but the media certainly took their photo op opportunity, and just that's all you saw on the news was the burning car, and it kind of paints the whole protest in a bad light.
You know what I'm scared enough. You must be more scared. Freedom is a thing of the past. You are all now slaves in the new world order. What is this here? CBC News. Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the propaganda piece for the Canadian government. Who wants to see me hug the CBC reporter? Ladies and gentlemen, Toronto is in police state lockdown. You are free to do as you are told. You are free to have your bag searched arbitrarily. You are free to hand in your identification. Please look up to your nearest CCTV camera so your face may be reported. So what we need to do is get the police on our side, because they are just family men and women just like you and I. And as soon as the police stop obeying their orders from the criminal thugs at the top, there will be no one left to defend this very small cabal of dangerous criminals who are the international financiers and bankers. This is not North Korea. This is not China.
And yes, he's showing Harper. That was Stephen Harper. That was our prime minister before Justin Trudeau. And so also I call out the left and right and this, everyone, anyone that is complicit in destroying the country.
Is a civilized Western nation where people are treated with respect and dignity. And as far as I can see, 100% of the people here are peaceful and loving. We are blocking off entire city blocks to keep you safe. You must comply in order to remain safe. Treat us with the same courtesy we will treat you, and everything will truly be okay. And we can have a nice, fun day together in the New World Order amusement park that is downtown Toronto now. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the protest march, please be careful. We have had reports from the CBC that there are many Al-Qaeda terrorists here dressing in Toronto police uniforms. And ladies and gentlemen, some people have informed me that we should carry on west.
I gotta be careful, I'm gonna get busted for inciting a riot.
Why are you blocking peaceful protesters off every 100 meters? Why are you not letting people walk through?
A very interesting thing that happened. Charlie and I were in the middle of this particular protest where everybody got surrounded, and they had blocked the street on Queen Street leading up to Spadina, the area where one of the police cars was on fire. And Charlie got on the bullhorn and said, if this line is blocked, let's go north, everybody.
Not being very forthcoming with why they're blocking us, I guess we're going to have to go that way.
So everybody started to go this way, and then all of a sudden the police opened up the line and allowed everyone to go through. Almost like as if they wanted us to be in that particular area where that police car was on fire.
I'm so busy, dude. I'm so sorry. I've got so much stuff I need to do. I'm going to be on the radio in an hour.
I saw you on the perimeter yesterday. Okay. I'd like to see your ID, please.
Can I ask why?
Yes.
Why?
I'd like to see it.
Do you have a problem? Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to show your ID?
Yeah, because I live in Canada. I'm walking down the street with the camera, right? I'm not.
Given your shirt, your proximity you were, you're videotaping yesterday down at the.
Yeah, tyranny. You know what tyranny is, sir? Yeah.
What you're doing?
Thank you very much. I don't need a lesson in the diction in English, okay?
Yes.
See, that's where ego's getting in the way. He was being a little ironic, and again,
I can tell you what it is. I saw the looks you were giving me directly yesterday while we were down there.
Now it's illegal to look at somebody, sir?
Absolutely not.
Just I looked at you in an illegal way, sir?
No, not at all. I'm just saying it seemed like you're very agitated, quite like you're starting to become right now.
I'm not the case to stop it. I have the right not to be stopped.
Uh-oh. So this is as far as we can go.
We got here, there was pretty much already a big gathering. The bikes were already there, everybody was already sitting in. We were already on our way home. We kind of just figured we'd take some pictures, walk across. We had to get from this side of the intersection to that side of the intersection, so we decided we would just walk through, take a few pictures on the way.
As a budding photographer, thought it'd be kind of cool to get the aftermath shots down here just to see what it was like. We were just walking down Queen Street, like spent the day. It was probably like, I don't know, like 5 in the afternoon or in the evening. So it didn't seem like it wasn't too big of a crowd. It seemed, peaceful. So we were kind of just observing and watching what was going on.
Found out a lot of the people that were there, that were stuck in, were just had just been walking by. Some of the people were just curious about what the protest is like because of all the stuff that happened on the Saturday. So they walked down there, and then some of the people were just like local area residents stuck in here.
So they have nowhere to disperse to. Just for the record, and here come the riot cops.
Single file in front of the bike, all the way down. Take it all the way down, right to the end. Straight across.
They're not doing anything bad at this point. In terms of where they might be going, it's anybody's guess. I'm trying to talk to people.
Yeah, the mercenaries are here
Have a look right now. We just want to show you as police.
Queen and Spadina is already blocked off on the south and the west side. And then buses pull up from the north, big Greyhound buses, full of riot cops.
All I see is like maybe 3 busloads full of SWAT team members come out. And we're just starting to walk up there, pull up, and then they all load out and start walking down. And by the time we seen that happen, we're like, oh crap, we came back over here to kind of see what was going to happen, if they were going to maybe try and arrest people or something and try and avoid it because they're definitely not allowing us to go that way.
Oh, that's good. Corral is in the back.
These guys from the north are trying to get us to move south, which was, I didn't even want to go down that far, And I walk over to the east side, and there's another riot squad coming in from the east. So basically they surrounded the whole intersection.
Surrounded right now. There's a bunch of cops there telling us to go this way, a bunch of cops there telling us to go this way, a bunch of cops there blocking out that way. I don't know where to go. Got my peace signs up, hoping nothing happens.
Nobody knew what was going on. We'd ask a police officer or something, and they just start tapping on their shields, and we're like, okay, you back away. There's a point where I was starting to kind of get scared when they were getting tear gas masks on over here. And definitely giving a feeling of threat. And so it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get tear gas and I'm just here and I didn't even want to be here.
We would ask officers on one side, can we leave? And they would tell us to go to the other side. We'd ask them and they would say the exact same thing.
Where are people supposed to go? Pardon? Okay. All right.
It's literally canalizing people into areas, and this is what I was thinking about Ottawa too. You got to watch out for this stuff because some fucking people are sick. Not all. It's people that are giving police services a really bad name, and what the fuck are people supposed to do with that? Where are they supposed to go?
So I just talked to one of the police officers.
How is that not baiting people? Like, we're literally putting in a fucking hole, not letting them leave.
No place to go, so acting as our pin.
Yeah.
It's kind of a hairy situation. Let's hope that the police officers use all their best judgment and do not injure any innocent protesters.
Where are we supposed to go if they don't want us to protest? It's really messed up, right?
Half of you don't even know what the G20 is about. We give up our banking system to a foreign entity. Someone's running our country, not us. us. If money is power and they print it, where's the power?
Again, it's Derek from Kitchener 911 Truth. Queen and Regina, we're going to be boxed in here. Shit's going to hit the fan here pretty soon, so I don't know if you can get down here or if you're still the Alex Jones show.
So there are question on Rumble. There was if there was any pushback from law enforcement, like even since then, the law enforcement that I have named, like Helen Bruce, for example, even her being a cop, Ottawa Police Services, over 20 plus years of service, working on the higher level contract stuff that I was talking about, the SRDTs and the heats. So beyond just service to the community, like international stuff, working with sexual assault child abuse unit for over 7 years at Huntmar, and she's getting charged and character assassinated, and it's Gestapo, like the way that the hearings and the court proceedings are going, it's internal. And Chris Renwick, like it's an absolute clown court with what's going on with Trump. The equivalent is happening to Helen Bruce. Like there's people that are prosecuting her. It's all insane. Like a witness testimony from like friends of like the prosecutors, like fake allegations, fake stuff. And she gave medical and scientific and government data, the data that I was giving, and talking with experts. And just all she was doing was sharing this information to her chain of command, Ottawa Police Services. And they suspended her. They charged her the first weekend of the Freedom Convoy. Not a coincidence. Suspended, charged, all that stuff. Over $100,000. She's still in the courts. Her next fucking hearing is this March, the 25th of March. She has to fly in her lawyers from Alberta, so that's even more money. She's a parent too. She's a mother. I can't even make this up. And I have other friends too that were suspended and charged and vilified and kicked out. All in all government agencies, firefighters that were even like high up, military, even special forces, Ottawa Police Services. Nurses, doctors, you name it. Anyone that spoke out and shared actual data, we were accosted and harassed and tortured and targeted by cops that are again like picking people up off the streets that are innocent civilians and kidnapping them and holding them hostage essentially for days and hours without any reason and no record of it. Like police paperwork not filed, and like how the fuck can you prove it unless we're recording? And they're not giving their details. They're supposed to be giving their details, and they're not.
All of a sudden, at a moment's notice, you just saw stormtroopers.
And even me, I've been sharing this information and speaking out on this stuff. So like, even with me, like I was doing training and courses for law enforcement included, all levels of law enforcement, and no one's calling me back because unfortunately I'm the only one calling out this stuff. Right. And if they didn't embarrass us and shame us during all of these different things, like I wouldn't feel compelled to have to do this. I'm not talking about my friends specifically, but they're not on board with even doing contracts with me or even like inviting me to do like the advanced firearm stuff, the CQB stuff anymore because I'm sharing this information. And it just pisses me off because I'm one of the fucking good guys within. Like I should be the one you should be fucking hiring, not the ones that are like enabling and supporting these fucking Gestapo types from like still working. And suspending us, charging us,
and close everybody up, isolate them.
We need to stop punishing the good guys. We need to stop punishing and vilifying and going after the good guys, like at all levels, like kicking us out of our institutions, outcasting us, segregating us, ghosting us, arresting us.
Currently moving.
This doesn't look good. Before we realized it, we were blocked in from every direction, and then we were part of the small group of about 30 people that got cut off from the main 4.5 hour group.
And before we even knew that we were blocked in, we were blocked in. So there's no way that we could get out.
What's the crime for being in here? We're peacefully protesting.
Hey, folks, you understand? Everybody's going to be arrested. We'll do it nice and easy, okay? We don't want to hurt anybody, but you are going to be arrested.
For what?
I told you, conspiracy to commit mischief, so stand here. We'll take you one at a
So this guy, I fucking hope he's not in law enforcement anymore. I hope he doesn't have a pension. I hope he's kicked out. This is all a psyops. It's to show, and this was again to stage and plan for the pandemic. They wanted people to be in concentration camps by the end of the fucking freedom protest. I know how that fucking sounds, and luckily, because of people like me, no offense, but like also like that, like heroes like within government as well, were working, knowing all of this stuff was going on, and they were actually like underground going against their own, like even sharing information about text messages about people bragging about beating people up unnecessarily, even women bragging about this with Ottawa Police Services, crazy stuff, and giving people like me this information to get it out there. Yeah. Conspiracy to cause mischief, like peaceful protesting, and then blockading them in, canalizing them in areas, not allowing them to even like go anywhere, to even oblige and leave peacefully. No fucking crimes, and it's because they wanted to do with it. That this was planned. They were ordered from the higher up. They were ordered to do that. Just to be clear, this was again a pre-plan. This was the stage and plan for the fucking pandemic, okay, where they wanted in all fucking areas. We are lucky this didn't happen. It was keeping me up at night. This is why I was all hands on deck, even at risk to my fucking self, and I doxed myself, including giving my special forces background and stuff like that, because I'm like we cannot have this happen. And oh yeah, I didn't sleep at all. I had what a fucking period.
at a time, okay? Thank you.
And this happening unbelievable.
We're peacefully assembling.
Well, I mean, believable.
You're interpreting it all wrong, sir. We're peacefully assembling. Nobody's conspiring for mischief.
Tyranny. This is Canada. And Canada, in the province of Ontario, and the province of Ontario is a liberal-leaning, liberal voting province.
I think so.
And they're saying right-wing extremism. Right-wing extremism. Okay, a liberal government. Anyway. Actually, at this time it was conservative, so I'm corrected. If this is still like the G20 2010. Left and right, though, same bird. I need to correct myself. %. The ones they promote.
We're fucking people. We're people. What's wrong with you? Are you fucked? Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest.
That's good.
This is our city.
Oh, for sure. They did. Look at Portland, Oregon, of all places, too. Like there's so much destruction, and law enforcement actually legitimately getting attacked by people, and no arrests and stuff like that. It was disgusting to me because, like, again, I don't condone violence towards anyone unnecessarily, but like even especially law enforcement, because again, their job is hard enough. And so like that shit like really annoys me. So that even when like the law enforcement guys got beat up, it could be crisis actors. It could have all been staged and planned. But those illegal immigrants that beat up the cops and were out on bail, like no charges, like no nothing the day after, and then flipping off like news reporters. Like I'm like, no, deport those guys. Get the fuck out. No. And it's because I still like I respect what the uniform used to be and what can still be. And so unfortunately there are people within that are bad apples, but I'm fucking hoping it changes.
Right, so that's the hippie phone. Is that why it's unbelievable?
Yeah. Yeah, in Portland and so many other areas where there was hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of damage in protests for BLM and Antifa stuff. I like insane. And people know, by the way, that this was also fueled by what happened with George Floyd, and people know now. Look at my Rumble videos, Don 189, to get the truth about everything that happened, and then actual charges and convictions against George Floyd that people are not aware of. And even despite the fact that it's unrelated to what happened, it's still like people need to be aware of who they're propping up as a saint, someone that's convicted of multiple accounts of prawn and rape, including of a disabled woman in front of her child, and overdosing on fentanyl, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And constantly being booked and doing like the same type of thing and saying that the same things that was said. And so just being known for causing drama and saying things that may not necessarily be true. It could be drug induced.
I'm sorry for protesting.
We were a little stressed, but still lighting the situation until they started dragging us away. At that point, that's when it got real.
They just round them up. And, you know, they just started treating us as cattle, and that's what we felt like.
With all those civilians back there.
There's a badge there. That's not a civilian. But what did he do wrong?
Me? I'm being taken.
Yes! Stop resisting. Move your arm back.
What the hell? I'm
Chill. Whoa, hey!
This like profoundly impacts people that witness and experience this, so people know. And that's another thing that law enforcement are really not aware of is the impact this has, like the prolonged, extended, and the lack of faith and the trust and stuff like that within people. You're supposed to be building winning the hearts and minds. And even in Afghanistan deployments and other deployments, it's winning the hearts and mind, like being a reasonable fucking human being and not trying to escalate situations, like the complete opposite of what these people are doing. And to civilians and innocent people, that like this is not part of their life. Like all of this, like violence and aggression and escalation of force, and again, yeah, like people are a little bit more entitled and privileged in these areas. I will agree with that. Okay, but there are expectations that this stuff won't happen in any first world country, right? Like these are very reasonable expectations that people can peacefully protest and not have this stuff happen to them, because this is not what a first world country looks like. It's not. And that's why I'm saying Canada is not a first world country anymore, and we are continuing to collapse. Yeah, even with advanced civilizations, like it transcended all skin colors, and even Europeans that were advanced from it, like, and from wealth, like even Mathieu de Costa in the 1500s and early 1600s, but the 1500s, he was black skinned, and he was very successful with his trading and stuff like that, because like just like the natives at the time said, he looked similar to them. So that leads me to believe that. And if you look at all the examples of him throughout history, I've talked about this before, like he is black skinned, it's very evident. And so he would have likely been dealing with black skinned people. So there were white skinned people and black skinned people and various skinned people throughout the world during various periods of time and cycles throughout the world. And but regarding like the subtleties within like the variations of the colors of the eyes, the skin, the hair, stuff like that, the differences are based on where we possibly live more in more extended periods, like on this flat earth plane within this dome, like where it's colder regions where we have less access to sun would be like, it benefits more people that are lighter skin, lighter hair, lighter eyes. And when there's more sunlight, benefits people with darker skin, darker hair, darker eyes. I've talked about this in various occasions as well. And advanced civilizations, advanced societies that were run by black skinned people, white skinned people, whatever skin people, like yellow skin, red skin. Like I don't want to like offend people like with color associations. It just is what it is. And yeah, we've all been more advanced and less advanced based on the cycle of life and the environment that we were living in, right? Was it more austere and remote and primitive because of natural and or man-made disasters, or more evolved and more advanced? Like we're kind of like in the middle. And yeah. And all different skin colors have been slaves and masters. And my brother's in there, traumatizing people. The cops, there was that many cops there because this was a PSYOPs campaign. This was all hands on deck, absolutely a PSYOPs campaign to see how people would respond. And the law enforcement that were on the ground, they didn't realize it either, that that's exactly what this was, right? All the surveillance, the video footage, they were all taking all of this stuff, thinking that this is all for training and development. No, it was to show the response and just what Canadians were willing to tolerate, and just how extreme and severe law enforcement would get, even with cameras on them as well. So the PSYOPs was also against law enforcement, unfortunately, and they didn't even realize it. So it's like just, yeah. It was absolutely a message.
Step back, sir, you're under arrest.
These are not criminals. Let's be clear, these are not criminals. And there were people watching the cameras and the footage and the CCTV camera footage and the surveillance on the telephone poles and the light posts and stuff like that, and they were laughing. They loved every bit of this, what the law enforcement were willing to do, especially. It wasn't even just the mistreatment of the people, they loved that. Like a train wreck, some people just can't turn away, you know? Like,
I was standing at Queen and Spadina, I was taking pictures, and then all of a sudden I got boxed in, and I've been here probably for the past 3 hours, and for the past hour and a half it's been pouring rain. I'm soaking wet. There's still people who are crying. We were allowed on the east side before, and now they're cornering us in. They're boxing us in even further on the west side, and they're closing in further. They've got, police on every corner. They've got the riot police buses. They've got tons of court vans, and they've got tons of people who are in the plastic handcuffs right now. Somebody was walking their dog. Another couple was going out for dinner. I was just taking pictures. A lot of people were just walking by, and now we're stuck in the rain for the past 2 hours, freezing cold. This is completely unfair. This is against,
and infantry officer background, all this stuff, and I'm someone that has like multiple different certifications in nutrition and anatomy, all of that shit. even at a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, people can die of hypothermia depending on the conditions, especially the conditions I'm talking about is with being cold and wet. Being wet especially is the most fucking dangerous. These people are so retarded for doing this. No offense. Especially with elderly and children are more impacted. So when a grown-ass man is allowing this stuff to happen because he's comfortable or he's wearing waterproof fucking stuff and he's not impacted by the rain and stuff like that, and boxing people in like this, these are health risks, ladies and gentlemen.
This is against everything that I stand for, that Canada stands for.
Canada.
The mayor will not
This is the province that I'm currently living in.
comment on this. Adam Bond, the area councillor, will not comment on this. The police chief will not comment on this. The integrated security unit will not comment on this. No one wants to touch this. This is a situation that is beyond apparently anyone's comment or control.
I was calling my mom to see what they were saying on the news about it, whether or not they were like, giving any indication of letting us go or at least giving reason as to why we were stuck here.
Women in
rain
tank
for
tops, freezing,
an hour or so.
and grown-ass men in
With,
layered
zip
fucking
cuffs on the
uniforms
back of
and
my
helmets.
So soaked to the bone, we got on the
Uncomfortable,
bus where they
We see this.
continued to put the
We see
AC
this.
on. We asked them to stop. They
Shame.
turned it even higher.
We're in the paddy wagons for a couple hours at least, soaking wet. Like I was in shorts and a tank top, and the girl in the next seat in the paddy wagon had to go to the washroom. She was yelling asking them, please, can I just go to the washroom? I really need to go to the washroom.
I explained that I had to leave the group because I need to use the washroom, and could he direct me where to go? The riot officer took me out of the crowd by the arm and then placed me under arrest. I was taken to one of the police paddy wagons, and I was situated among 9 other girls. I asked the police officer where could I go to the bathroom, because that was my quest of getting out of the group. He told me that I could use the paddy wagon. I said, you've got to be joking. I had no choice. I have a kidney that doesn't work properly, and I've never been so disgusted and felt so violated in all my life. Because my hands were cuffed, I couldn't even help myself to prepare to do that. So I had all these strange girls do it for me. That bloody cop stood at the wired part of the door, which was wide open, and watched me urinate. He watched me urinate, and I even addressed him, and I said, that is against the law. I said, do you know what that does? He couldn't even imagine, and neither can other people, how that would affect someone and traumatize someone. But he didn't just do it with me. He did it with 3 other girls. And I don't give a shit who this guy was, a cop. I gave him no goddamn right to look at a girl urinate, because you know what? If it was someone else in the neighborhood that was doing that, they would be picked up, thrown in jail, and charged. It's the most humiliating and embarrassing thing I've ever had to say on camera. But people have to know the truth.
We gained significant evidence to suggest that we had numbers of black bloc type people that involved in the crowd mixed in, and that included people who during the walk actually donned masks, as we saw.
Know what that does? He couldn't even imagine, and neither can other people, how that would affect someone and traumatize someone. But he didn't just do it with me. He did it with 3 other girls. And I don't give a shit who this guy was, a cop. I gave him no goddamn right to look at a girl urinate, because you know what? If it was someone else in the neighborhood that was doing that, they would be picked up, thrown in jail, and charged. It's the most humiliating and embarrassing thing I've ever had to say on camera. But people have to know the truth.
We gained significant evidence to suggest that we had numbers of.
Jeff McGuire, let's see what he has to say. Toronto Police Services Staff Superintendent.
Black
Jeff
bloc
McGuire.
type people that involved in the crowd mixed in, and that included people who during the walk actually donned masks, as we saw yesterday, which was the precipitation of the violence that we saw. I'm also advised that we recovered some weapons along with
2010
route from unknown sources who had dropped them, but they were also found. So all of
CTV, CBC, even NEN were controlled puppets.
This led our officers, who have been on the road trying to protect the city very diligently, to believe that they had the reasonable grounds, in which they did.
No
believe that
ties
the
to
breach of
the
the
permit.
peace was going to take place from the people involved in this group, including the people, as I said, that we believe were potentially black bloc type protesters. The rain brought the danger of a further.
Marco Mendicino, who was the public safety officer, he's a piece of shit. He resigned, unfortunately not disgracefully, just this past summer. But he lied to Canadians internationally in cabinet and alleged that that people that were part of the Freedom Convoy were starting fires and stuff like that, knowing that the arson was completely 100% unrelated to any of it. The arson was committed by, it was either Antifa or locals, whatever it was, but it was 100% not. And even getting called out in cabinet for lying about that on the record. But what did CTV and CBC and all these other people do? And they spun it. They took that snippet of what he said and what he lied about, and they didn't take the rest of the video where the guy actually stopped in cabinet. I forgot what the guy's name was. I've shared a video of this, but actually said, no, you stop now. On the record, this needs to be addressed. And he said, you're lying. You're lying to everyone. That's not the truth. The police reports confirm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The arson was not correlated with the Freedom Convoy people at all, et cetera, et cetera. And so Marco Mendicino, the public safety officer, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, was also lying again. And again, Freedom Convoy was 2022, 12 years after this, right? And still the same fucking tactics. And Marco Mendicino, lawyer type from Toronto, no surprise. And so many other people like Anita Anand as well. And so like it runs deep, right? Like I've said this in other videos, but by 2019, even Justin Trudeau hired like people as lawyers that to fill in all the different fucking positions in cabinet, knowing what he was going to have happen in 2020.
Breach of the peace to dissipate. And after a discussion at the command level, upon the direction of the chief of police, all of the people involved in this incident had been or in the process. But
the chief of police was Bill Blair, our current Minister of National Defense, like I'll say forever.
I'm fairly confident that everyone has been released at this point, unconditionally and as quickly as we could. What we do,
I was thinking the same thing
in the
about
best
that.
interest of the public, and sometimes it doesn't always work out perfectly for all, and we recognize that, and I know that you do.
Hi, Tyrone reporting for Press for Truth. I just spent the better of 6 hours in the Toronto Film Studio. Actually, we spent about 3 hours in a bus just waiting to be processed. The cops basically approached on our democratic process. None of us were out of line, but they felt the need to seal us in and then arrest us one by one. I was there reporting the protest as media. Nothing wrong with that. It's built into our Constitution, and we just got that taken away with the Public Order Protection Act.
The prison conditions were inhumane and unnecessarily abusive. There were no doors in the toilets, and most of the guards were male.
I don't even have a crate for my dogs. My dogs don't even go in cages. Like, when I leave my house, even with my husky, that's why I walk them all the time and exercise them, so that he doesn't fucking chew everything, especially the husky. I would never I don't even put them in the bathroom. Like, they have full range of my house, and it's my responsibility to discipline them properly and give them the love and the exercise they need in order to not act out and stuff like that. Like, I think it has everything to do with the owner. And so like treating humans worse than I would treat a dog.
We were handcuffed the entire time we were in the prison. This was not by accident. It was set up purposely to create a system of psychological violence and against men and women too, though the men and women experienced it a little differently. The place was cold, there was no place to sit or lie, and if women did act out, they were threatened with internal searches and gang rape.
Internal searches and gang rape.
I work on violence against women and war rape, and threatening a woman with rape or gang rape is not a joke, and it's not funny. And the police were doing this, and this was used as a way to systematically silence women who were speaking out.
This draconian stuff that they passed under secret, we gotta be more.
Yeah, and the whole 5 meter rule thing. Again, Bill Blair, fuck this guy. Again, peacefully. Just, I hope he gets jail. He deserves jail. He likes to jail people that are innocent civilians. Why don't we actually jail the person that's an actual corrupted criminal. So that 5 meter exists. That 5 meter rule didn't even exist.
Vigilant about, because when we don't, this is what happens. So, an educated population.
Not for real.
It's kind of what we need
These
right
are,
now.
These are actual, real reports. Like everything that they're alleging, like it's from official documentation reports.
If you see this,
unfortunately, this is why this needs to
do
be
your own
cleared.
research and wake up, please.
As we exited,
They didn't commit.
there's a group of people.
They were just
on the other side of the
threatening it,
road.
implying.
These people were looking after the people who just got out of jail. Food, water, rides to wherever you wanted to go, legal advice.
This is all nuts. This is all
You
nuts.
name it. They helped you out. Thank you.
We are very, very thankful. They actually drove us to our car, which was very nice because we had no idea where we were. And basically they said that the only payment that they wanted in return, the only thing they wanted us to do in return was to tell people about what happened to us and what really happened at G20 Toronto.
It's not an experience that I want to repeat, but it's not going to deter me from coming out the next time to peacefully protest and make my voice heard.
The Freedom Convoy obviously was definitely, no, it was a bad one too.
The day after the end of the
So bad.
G20 summit, as you can hear and as I will show, there's a big group of people now directly in front of the police headquarters. If you believe the Toronto police behaved shamefully, say yeah!
Like they literally went after their own citizens that they're supposed to serve and protect.
Right to the back, right to the back.
Here you go.
Not every Toronto police officer is a bad person. Some of them underneath the robot uniforms are actual human beings with feelings as well. I know this because a few of them were nice to me over the last few days. I wish the good ones within the Toronto Police Department could actually inspire the other ones to be nice as well. There are still good cops left. It's time for them to raise their heads and start saying something.
Yeah, well, you are. Thank you.
Some are friendly. That's an unfortunate thing. They don't want to do it.
That's right. We should all have it. Sergeant would like to lend you the megaphone to give a police statement. No, thank you. You sure? Yeah, I think your voice has come out very well. No, thanks.
We're the same. We're human beings. When you take off that uniform, you and I, we're the same.
We have a common enemy. And if it's one thing I could leave you with, remember, once they're done with us and they've got you guys to do the work for them, what do you think they're going to do to you? So I just ask you, officers of Toronto, what is more important to you, morals and ethics, or pleasing the powers that are acting in such a corrupt way? I only could leave that for you to decide.
I know you're doing your job, but at the same time, like, when is it going to be a revolution of all? You know, like, come on, we're all just humans. If you're doing something that's immoral in your life, that maybe you should consider a new occupation.
Be the one to make that change. Out the criminal activity, the criminal behavior, and the abuse of power that you see and know. You know, find a different job. What you're doing is not going to benefit your children or my children in the long run.
If you're a police officer, that doesn't mean you're above the law. If anything, you have to, you know, as an enforcer of the law, you have to be, you know, extra vigilant to make sure that you don't do anything illegal.
Your police vehicles say to protect and serve, and ours at home in our hometown say people helping people. I only saw people helping corporations and people helping shady governments.
All we ask is in the next few years, as we enter this crazy, paranoid terrorism world, that you please, as brothers and sisters of ours, please question your orders. Please think about what the governments and the international bankers are asking you guys to do, because you're increasingly being asked to control us, just normal, peaceful members of the public. And it's not a Canadian problem, it's not an American problem, it's a world problem. And the true criminals are the G20 delegates and the international bankers which control them, fund them, and install them as puppets as the leaders of our states. So, just to end, it's a message of peace and understanding. I'm from London, in England, and we have the exact same problems we have here. Why did the G20 decide to host itself in the middle of a major city for the need for this totalitarian clampdown? So all the best, guys. We hope the day pans out peacefully for you guys as well. And we're out of here. So take care.
Charlie, tell us what happened to you when you showed up to the Toronto airport to try to go home.
Yeah, yesterday at 4 p.m. I was at the airport queuing at check-in on the Air Transat flight to go back to London, as I was obviously booked to do. And then at Toronto Pearson Airport, I noticed 3 policemen pointed at me from quite far back, and then they came running in and grabbed me and said that they had a warrant for my arrest. I said, no, you have it all wrong. I've already been arrested. I've got my papers. I'm flying out now. What are you doing? This is crazy.
Yes, good morning. This is a message for Charlie Veach. It's Detective Sergeant Frank Skubik calling from the Toronto Police. It's now Tuesday morning at about 9:40 a.m. Mr. Veach, the reason I'm calling is to inform you that the Justice of the Peace has issued a warrant for your arrest for the offense of impersonating a peace officer. If you can call me at 416-808-7399 as soon as possible, we can make arrangements for you to have yourself surrender yourself and be processed on this charge.
So they cuffed me and dragged me out in front of thousands of people at the airport, and the charge was impersonating a police officer from the first day filming I did with you, Dan.
Hi, do you have the kind of certification for that?
Yeah, we're from British Military Intelligence. I'm here with the Metropolitan Police, as you can see, so it's all fully authorized at the highest levels.
Anytime someone impersonates themselves as a police officer is a serious offense. We take it very seriously. This entire incident we're taking extremely serious. As a result, the man was arrested and he will be facing charges.
It seems ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. There's Canadian case law from courts that say it is a crime to attempt to impersonate a peace officer. You can't pretend to be a downtown Toronto police intelligence officer. But the law is that you can impersonate all the foreign legal officers, foreign peace officers you want.
And first of all, there's also the common sense, and like also he wasn't in the actual uniform. And if that's the case as well, my point to that has always been, what about January 6th and so many and the Freedom Convoy, where there were actual actors, actual civilians that were actually dressed as law enforcement. Okay, like you look at my January 6th stuff that I got from Moose News and other sources. There were actually people that were not law enforcement that were wearing actual uniforms. And so why are they not arrested? I've identified them. I've shared their names. I've shared what they look like. I've shared them in the fucking uniforms. It's all there. Why are they not arrested?
Yeah, we're from British Military Intelligence. I'm here with the Metropolitan Police.
You can, according to the case law, pretend to be a U.S. Marshal from Texas, but you can't do that by pretending to be a member of military intelligence. That's not an offense in Canada.
Veach was released on $500 bail. His next court appearance is August 23rd.
My 6 days in Toronto for my time here with my filmmaker friends, I spent 48 hours in incarceration.
I've dealt with police all around the world, and the States, Europe, Britain, but there's something strange. I don't see the kind of workings of such a peaceful and friendly and amazing people as the Canadians and their police force. Maybe it is just because of the G20 in town, but your police force is extremely draconian, and the criminal justice system treats you guilty until you're proven innocent. And I really felt that.
Yep.
And it just really tore a hole in my happiness for a total of 48 hours to be in incarceration for having committed no crimes. I didn't impersonate a police officer, and I didn't refuse to give ID to a policeman under a fake law, which now turns out wasn't brought in, wasn't enacted.
What is our child going to have if this is what happens to civil rights in a weekend in our country? 15 years. And I turned to my husband and I said, there has to be a way to mobilize. The media is not taking care of this. Don't you know? What can we do? And he opened up Facebook and he started a Facebook group. The next day when I woke up, we had about 5,000 members. Within 24 hours, we had over 10,000. We're now at almost 70,000 members. So I knew immediately I wasn't alone, that just as many people felt like I did. and that this wasn't going to go away. And I was going to make sure with every ounce of my power that this didn't just go away and get swept under the rug. Human rights are absolute, just like civil liberties are absolute, and our Charter of Rights and Freedoms is absolute. You get those rights because you're born. That's it. There's no, as far as I'm concerned, there's absolutely no debate about it.
And there are good cops. I'm going to be clear about
All
that.
tyranny
I
needs
know
to put a
good
foothold
cops.
in a country is for the
They're
good
just really
conscience
getting
people to stay silent. Well, we will
tortured
not
by
remain
bad
silent.
cops right now,
And we will
too.
soon not forget
They're
what
getting
happened here in Toronto.
these people.
We will continue to band together. We need to show them that the people and our message will not be delegitimized by political spin. We need to show them that we cannot be intimidated by their threats or slander. Show them that we are not allowing them to criminalize dissent.
There's a lot that went down that the general public isn't aware of, and that's the major factor that needs to be addressed. People need to know what's happening.
Thankfully, in this day and age, we are all public media. We can all raise our voices, and that's what we need to do.
The people united! The people united!
Peaceful dissent is a part of democracy just as much as casting a ballot.
Bill Blyer.
I hope that.
Did you see that sign? Bill Blyer. Like, this is a decade and a half ago. And so do you think the people in Toronto are fully supporting Bill Blair, $500,000 salary a year being our Minister of National Defense? No. It's not just me.
That more politicians
one
will
wants
kind of
it
get
in.
on board with the idea that something outside of the police investigating themselves needs to come out of this, like a real inquiry that has, again,
justifiably,
there's real teeth to it, something that has actual power, that has subpoena power, that has the power to really question the police and look at their tactics, not just at the G20, but in general, because I think there's a larger subtext of a pattern of police aggression against peaceful people.
We're not going to get a true independent inquiry without that subpoena power because they lie. People lie.
Don't know who gave the orders. A multi-jurisdictional setup. Like,
Brothers,
who knows who was actually in charge? The ISU, the RCMP is supposed to be in charge of the ISU, but who was giving the RCMP orders? And are the RCMP giving municipal and like Toronto Police and Peel Police? Are they giving them their orders? Like, who is actually accountable?
And what we've seen here is a picture of the police state to come. What happens when you give the police unlimited budgets? All the men they want, all the toys they want, all the machinery they want, and the right to control huge swaths of the city. That's the police state that's going to come if we give them the money to do it.
So as mentioned, but they're not tracking as much. There's even people that are security guards, and I mean just security guards. I don't mean that to slam anyone. It's just they don't have the experience, qualifications, or certifications as regular law enforcement have. Right? There's a difference between peace officers. Like, there's different variations. There's like that, even peace officers that don't have firearms, right? And now actually more and more do. But these are people that only have like 5-day theoretical course under their belt, and then they're thrown on the streets with fucking weapons, and they're not even qualified or barely even qualified on the weapons that they're employing on people and the force that they're employing on. So like even security guards, the basic security guard course, I will reiterate, it's a 40-hour theoretical course, and then you go to a service area within your fucking area after you finish the final exam. When you pass it, you get a code, and then you have to do a final written exam at a place where like it's accountable. Like, you have to issue like your ID license and the code and anyway, and that's it. And so like even with use of force, like that's an additional course beyond the basic security guard course that gives you, and it's not even a lot, but it's just literally like handcuffs training, baton training, if even that. But then it's just like the use of force training. It could be a day, it could be a few hours, and again, even in that time, you have to teach people about employing batons, handcuffs, use of force, de-escalation of force, tactical communications, all of that fucking stuff. And it's not enough time. So like even within that, like training is absolutely underwhelming and not enough. And it's been significantly pushed back and delayed. People are not doing the training they're supposed to be doing. So when a security guard pretends to be a police officer, that is also impersonating a police officer and is a criminal offense. And so they're clearly doing something with policies. There's some kind of like moves, like something in place in Toronto to allow this and the security companies that they're using. That's also like a multi-billion-dollar industry there. And again, companies that I know personally, people that I've worked with, and because of what I'm sharing, they consider me to be, not part of the in-group.
For the police state, it really will come with money.
Because I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to play that.
There's nothing to stop it, because those values of liberty and freedom and democracy are not cherished by the police department.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! This is what democracy looks like! That is what democracy looks like!
Whether you're a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, or a police officer, your job is to help people, not to make their lives worse, not to abuse them, not to manipulate them, not to coerce them. So when you act in a way that is abusive to others, to your fellow citizens, and then say, I was just following orders, you're not the victim. You're actually at fault for not taking a stand for what you made an oath to do when you decided to take on that occupation.
There seems to be a rift amongst Canadians. Anti-police, anti-protester. I don't believe you anarchists, hippie liars, damn you fascists.
You're supposed to know what lawful and unlawful orders are. So better training, better examples, practical scenarios, all of that stuff. It's complicated stuff. It's very gray, not black and white.
Pigs. We can't fight each other. We can't be anti this or anti that.
But very obvious, committing like unlawful acts against innocent civilians, like all of that stuff was very obvious, and they just allowed it to happen.
There's one thing we all need to be, the people down here, the people working in these buildings, we need to be one thing, pro-truth. But I'm ashamed to say that I was not a protester that weekend. I was just snatched up along with, I'm an average Canadian dude. That's who I am. Well, actually, that's who I was 2 weeks ago. Now I'm a protester. That's who I am now.
I attended my first protest on the Monday in solidarity, and I will continue now that my eyes have been awoken to what's going on. I didn't care much for politics. I didn't care, as long as I could go to work, make my money, and spend it. Now I see the world through different eyes. I've awoken. I don't want to be part of this corporatized system.
It's August 23rd, 2010, and we are currently standing right out front of the Ontario Court of Justice. Now, today is the day where over 300 people are going to be processed.
Oh, and fun fact, the Emergency Act was declared on Valentine's Day 2 years ago. And you notice they were saying that were people that were even getting arrested leaving restaurants. Not a mistake that anyone that was out when the Emergency Act was declared could have been arrested. Could have been arrested just having a romantic lunch or dinner with their partner. And that was all by design.
For their arrests that were made during the G20 summit weekend.
People that are doing the order, issuing the orders.
You rock! Yeah!
There are some matters that we have dealt with either through outright withdrawal of the charges. In some cases, either some type of a diversion from the court process was done. Donations tend to be the simplest one because you can do that here, proceed with it now, give the money, and then the individual the charge is withdrawn, and they are out of the court process. If you ask responsibility? No, there's no admission of responsibility with this. It's simply a donation is done, and the person walks away from court without a necessity of an admission of any responsibility.
How many officers have been charged with assault? How many officers have been charged with assault?
All right, so you had a question?
How many officers have been charged with assault? Why are people having to come back in October who are innocent?
And then he walks away.
Is there a single cop being prosecuted? One cop? One police officer? Why are people having to come back in October who are innocent?
Police came in and broke into my home at 4 a.m. It was the Gangs and Guns unit with, guns drawn and plainclothes officers with just their bulletproof vests and a bunch of guns pointed at our heads. The conspiracy I'm charged in is alleged to be responsible for everything that happened on the streets on Saturday, which is, it's kind of preposterous to allege some kind of anarchist hierarchy. All this criminalization and the crackdown on dissent and the attacks on social movements is nothing new. And I think it's really important for people to continue the work of challenging the system that targets people for marginalization and oppression and takes away from people's ability to build strong communities and to build a better world. And that is the most important thing for people to do moving forward, is to continue challenging and to continue building our movements and building linkages between the various struggles that we're all involved in.
We all have our opinions based on our life experience. And one of the things we have to realize is that opinion is constantly being conditioned by mass media. We're constantly being indoctrinated by certain perspectives. Maybe the things I know aren't true. Maybe the paradigms I've been used to aren't accurate. And so when I hear a thought that might sound very disturbing, might sound that's not even true, maybe it sound like a lie, let me at least authentically consider it so that I can see all the possibilities as opposed to being so attached to one mainstream perspective.
Corporate media has different responsibilities than, say, alternative media like this. You have to go into that and not be naive about it. You have to realize where they're coming from, and not let it affect the validity of your message and your voice and your value system. This is about standing up for what you believe in, and it's hard, but just remember that nobody can tell you that it's not important.
Everybody's got to start carrying around cameras. Okay, whatever they try to tell you, you can't film here, you can't film here. That's exactly when you need to hit record, and you got to keep your cameras recording.
I think the fact that people here took the responsibility of stopping in what were often dangerous situations, to take photographs, to mount the photographs, to put them out in the public eye, speaks to a really engaged public. We are calling for a public inquiry held by the federal government. You may be aware that there are numbers of public inquiries already started up. The Toronto Police Service Board has begun a public inquiry. The Ombudsman has begun a public inquiry. There's another inquiry held that the province is holding on the Public Works Act, this mysterious act that supposedly existed and then maybe didn't exist. All of these things are pieces of a patchwork, but we need to be able to put this together. I think you're probably aware that 1,100 people were arrested, the largest mass arrest in Canadian history. So to say that was really a rotten weekend is putting it mildly. It was an historic weekend.
The CCLA and other groups were meeting with the police in the weeks before the G20 weekend, basically to understand what the rules would be in respect of the scope of peaceful protesting. At no time did either police force advise the CCLA or any other group of this regulation. Indeed, as their lawyer, I was dealing with their lawyers throughout the legal process in the days before the G20. At no time was I advised of this regulation.
The investigation that I'm reporting on today is the first of several public attempts to get to the bottom of exactly what happened here during the week of the summit, why it happened, and what can be done to ensure it never happens again. My investigation focused on the province's role in promoting what became known as the secret security regulation, a little known and widely misunderstood legal measure that was supposed to help the police keep the peace, but in my view, wound up contributing to massive violations of civil rights.
It would have been peaceful.
Some people in the ministry were rightly concerned about the optics
the cops
of
weren't
using
there. It would have been peaceful.
wartime legislation. But others saw the regulation as mere technicality. So the decision was made not to publicize it.
Instead, they quietly handed the police extravagant, sweeping powers under 71-year-old law. Powers that would almost certainly be illegal and unconstitutional under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
And one of the main tenets of the rule of law is that the police will not overreact. The police will only detain people if they have reasonable and probable grounds that they have committed an offense. The Supreme Court has been very, very clear in that regard, that these kinds of restraints are necessary on the police services, otherwise we will end up to be a police state. And that kind of excessive and arbitrary power which the police exercised on that occasion is shocking and appalling in this day and age. And what is more shocking is that no one has come to the fore to be accountable for this crucial undermining of the rule of law.
Reviving this dormant piece of legislation, coupled with the adoption of the regulation, created a legal landscape where people were detained by the police and compelled to identify themselves, answer questions, and submit to warrantless searches.
Like I've kept on warning, putting measures in place, lockdown measures, mandates, with the stuff like the Emergency Act being declared with the Freedom Convoy. This is all not new. Not new. I even said like with the Reichstag fire that happened in fucking Germany in the fucking 90s. Like what? Like they blamed it on a communist activist. And then the following day, when this was like people within government, Adolf Hitler like literally fucking like burned down Parliament. They didn't burn it down, but like set the fire, or had his own people do it. Blamed it on a leftist communist. Beheaded this guy, 24-year-old, unbelievable. And you look at anyways, I already talked about this stuff. The very next day, like put all these measures in place, restricted people's movement and freedom and stuff like that. Anyone within Germany that was speaking out on what was going on, anyone protesting, they were now deemed as criminals.
Even if they simply wanted to walk away.
But we also know that there may be a small number of people who use that crowd, the anonymity of a crowd, to throw rocks and to break windows and to start fires, and will attempt to incite violent confrontation with the police. They had an idea that this was going to happen. In fact, that was the undertaking they gave to the judge on the injunction. We need the sonic cannon because there's going to be this rogue element. Even if it was unexpected, it doesn't give you the right to arrest hundreds of innocent people.
You're within 5 meters of this wall, so please turn off your video camera. Okay. Public Works Act states that, so please.
The Act states that.
Show your identification.
Please. So blessed if it didn't.
5 meters.
You're a liar.
All right, we'll stop filming. But this because obviously your identification.
You can't do that. There's no legal basis for the police to do that. Unless, of course, they're relying on the Public Works Protection Act, which is wartime legislation. The government, the ministry had its website. The City of Toronto had a website.
Wartime measures. The Emergency Act, that for anyone that's not Canadian, and actually a lot of Canadians don't know this either, but it replaced the War Measures Act. That's what it used to be called. That was also war measures. That's why people were deemed as criminals. Even fucking people like me. I can't even fucking make this up. Deemed as so it's like it's like the government inviting people to like a blue tie event. And then when they get there, don't let them fucking leave and then criminalize blue motherfucking ties. Now they're criminals.
Website.
Same shit.
The integrated security unit had.
And yes, it sounds crazy because it
had websites, had ads in the paper, warning about street closures, things that were going to happen. Was there any at one point mention that the police had a right, according to a 1939 law, to arbitrarily detain citizens kilometers away from the fence, to search their belongings, to force them to identify themselves? No, at any time there was not. And that was a conscious, premeditated decision by the authorities. Apart from a coterie of senior officials in government and the Toronto Police Service, no one else was aware of the existence of this regulation or the fact that they would trigger
what amounted to martial law in downtown Toronto.
We're at Queen's Park, the same place they came to get the peaceful demonstration, to peacefully protest, you know? And that's what we were doing. We were peacefully protesting until we were attacked.
I keep saying again, protests are legal. You are allowed to protest. I want to reiterate this stuff. It's exploited and stuff like that. It's controlled op stuff, but it's still very much a legal thing to do, right? Worst things you can do than attend a peaceful protest, especially if it has to do with, like, I don't know, ending mandates that are, you know, like criminal and such. Like maybe going to a strip club, maybe going to, I don't know, a fucking crack house. Like there's so many things, you know, that are worse than going to a peaceful fucking protest. And like, why don't you focus on the actual criminals and the actual crime and not make people criminals? Like, oh my God, I just can't. You could take this time and like, if you're bored, you know, if like law enforcement and military, if they need stuff to do, I'll reiterate, my courses are multi-day. They're fucking amazing. Everyone says it. And people that even from years ago that have taken the courses said that they would love to take it again. And so you could do training, right? Invest all that money that you're spending criminalizing people and harassing them and assaulting them and jailing them for nothing, and do training. It's fun. There's even like advanced, like even for like not for firearms, but for driving training. Going on a racetrack, that's pretty fun. Going in Humvees or Hummers, like in like mountainous areas within Canada. I can't say too much. Very fun. You know, yeah. There's so much to do.
And I want to say that
there's even parts of like some of my courses where like there's a portion where you may or may not. Again, you like there's consent forms and stuff like that, but like, you may or may not get kidnapped. It's part of the training, so you know it going in. And it's not anything that's exploited, like nothing that's filmed or submitted like beyond training. People sign non-disclosures and stuff like that. But because of this stuff too, but like also with like with people that within government, diplomats included, especially who travel to other places and can be seen as high value targets, it's to train them on that. So that's fun too, right? And like people say, like when they're in it, it's like, what the fuck, I just got kidnapped. You know what I mean? And then you're in a room with me and I'm questioning you about stuff. Anyway, it's fun.
I'm just one of 1,100 who was beaten and hurt and brought to jail and unfairly. When I got arrested, I got banned from Toronto. I had to go stay at my mom's place as a condition of my bail. And I lived literally like a block that way. 31 hours I was detained.
You didn't do anything illegal?
Nothing at all. I did nothing at all. All my charges dropped, everything.
Okay, so Sid said that Constable Babak Andalib Gortani was formally charged with assault with a weapon. If you didn't see that, he was getting like
they charged me for assault on a police officer.
It's pretty good.
Public inquiry, one public inquiry.
When I got arrested, I got
look at that. An innocent. Oh my God, this
banned
is
from Toronto. I had to go stay at my mom's place as a condition of my bail, and I lived literally like a block that way. 31 hours I was detained.
So look. Already, there was already repeated strikes.
You didn't do anything illegal?
Nothing at all. I did nothing at all. All my charges dropped, everything. They had charged me for assault on a police officer.
Public inquiry, one public inquiry, not 6, is clearly necessary not only to determine what happened and to place accountability, but to ensure that in the future, no government will so cavalierly gamble with and suspend our civil liberties, which are too important for the politicians we apparently have.
For the citizens of Toronto, the days up to and including the weekend of the G20 will live in infamy as a time period where martial law set in the city of Toronto, leading to the most massive compromise of civil liberties in Canadian history. And we can never let that happen again.
We let it happen again. Spoiler alert. And there's still people in jail now from the Freedom Convoy. People that were deemed as criminals after years of mandates and lockdowns, illegal measures. This was it's probably triggering for a lot of people, and it is what it is. And so the Freedom Convoy, I've shared a lot of footage on that. I could probably like share more, in the coming days, but I'm just showing this because like the Freedom Convoy was deemed unconstitutional. Surprise, surprise! Just a few weeks ago, and now I'm hoping like a lot more lawyers get involved and reach out to me and people like me and start suing. That's the only way people are going to be held accountable, and people are going to avoid listening to unlawful orders. And so there's already a lot of footage from like the Freedom Convoy and like what happened with that, and like it was a fucking nightmare. And I honestly thought it was going to be worse than what it was. And because of people within and working within really trying their best, really putting themselves on the line to make it peaceful and try to talk sense into people, like that's the only reason I think that it was as peaceful as it was. And with myself and people like me, and again, this is not a brag or anything like that. It's just like it's a fact. Like even a week before the Freedom Convoy came to Ottawa, I informed all levels of government, people that I knew, my contacts from the Special Forces, from the Five Eyes community, Parliamentary Protective Services, the Green Army, you name it. And I let them know. And they were like, oh shit, I had no idea. And I'm like, I didn't think so. You know, and this is like what I mean. It's on the record that I was letting people know, and they let their chain of command know and stuff like that as well. And so people were not caught off guard, right? So that tanks weren't employed, because what they did, they were staging and occupying even the outside of the perimeter of fucking Ottawa. And I was like so fucking stressed about this stuff. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, we didn't learn. We have not learned. We didn't learn from fucking G20 summit. We didn't learn from fucking January 6th. We didn't fucking learn from fucking anything. And it is what it is. And it's just, this is why like people like me need to be taken fucking seriously and not idiots that are woefully inexperienced and underqualified to be in the positions that they are in. And so I will leave it at that, because I do have to walk my dogs again, because I have a husky, like I said, and he's still young. He's less than 3 years old, so he needs to get exercise every day. So anyway, I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.